Hey guys, sup. All right, we have what on earth am I? We have a few things to do today. We have made a decent amount of currency over the course of I don't know if you Friday. I think Friday I got to play a decent amount and I got to make a healthy amount of currency. So we have a good net worth. And my plan is that now that we have some, did I not start? Yeah, I did start YouTube. Okay. Now that we have some currency to our name, we're going to do a few big upgrades. I don't know if I'm going to do it first thing on stream or if I'm going to farm a bit before I do it, but we're going to be doing it soon. And then the idea is, or at least the idea behind getting upgrades at this point, is I want to eventually have the damage and tank to reliably do gold clockwork in deep space. And I think once I do that, I kind of check all the boxes for what I wanted to achieve for the league. Well, I actually have checked all the boxes and gone beyond it already. But because PoE 2 is until Friday, we have a bit of time to go even further than that. It's kind of the idea. But yeah. SS21 was never on the agenda when I went into the league. I was questioning if I would even beat SS20, so it's kind of crazy that at this point I am at like I don't know if I'm at 30T yet, or I will be way higher than 30T by the time I'm done with the changes I want to make. But there's a few things we're going to do. I'm going to solve slates for my current setup. Once we're done with slates, I'm going to go solve prism, because prism is also big. Prism is expensive. That one will already take like half the currency I have. Then once these two are done, then we're going to look at replacing my wand with a rod. I don't know if wand versus rod, like I don't know if anyone is necessarily like better than the other. Someone brought up the argument that I would actually just have more damage if I went with a rod over a wand. So I will be giving rod a try, which will be possibly a lot of currency spent. We'll see. Invis monsters, you love to see it. I just need to get 3 blues now. Nice, we got a blue next. Oh no, I see gold, I see purples. Nice. We're able to get 3 blues.
What's that?
I was about to say Holy Mother of Empty. Anywho. So we're going to do some farming. I could actually just start with the upgrades. Or with the liquidating, because it's going to be a lot of liquidating. It's kind of wild. I don't know why, but in that moment when I just opened Alice and I saw a window of full blues and I rerolled it and I saw -1 cogs for the next window. For some reason, I just had a very big appreciation for the fact that I have Alice 6. Like, just right there, I'm just like, yo. When I started this league, I didn't think I was going to be at Alice 6. Just saying. I wasn't sure I was going to do SS20 and everything. So like I really was like, yo, we're probably getting to like 5, probably, if even, because I knew we got the free one, so that was taking me to 4 anyways, and I kind of wanted to just try to get to 5 myself and all of that, and we're just going to see. But if I'm being honest, we got to 7. We got to Alice 7. I don't know if I told you guys that, but I wasted a legendary, my first legendary pets. And what I mean is, so as you know, I beat SS20, which means I got a free chest. Now what happened once I got the free chest was I got to level I sat on it for a bit because I was thinking I don't really know what I want to spend it. Actually, I knew what I wanted to spend it on, but I kind of wanted to get 6 Alice. So in my head, I'm like, maybe I just roll and then get roll Alice, get to level 5, and then use the chest. But in my head, I'm like, at some point, I'm just like, you know what, fuck it. There's no universe where we actually go for more than 1 Alice, because like I wasn't going to. So my plan was just, you know what, I'll just use the chest and then I'll roll. And then once I use the chest, that was the motivation to roll for Alice, to just get 1 level. And then I did that, and we do have a video to watch, by the way. But I did that, and then I got this. Keep in mind, I had level 4 Alice. I used the chest, so I got level 5. And then I got this. And I was just like, fuck me. That was genuinely my reaction. It's like, okay, fuck me, eh? All right. I know the ironic thing is like, it really doesn't matter, because if I didn't get the second one, that was the expectation, to not get the second one. But by getting lucky and getting the second one, in my head, I just wasted the chest, because that's just the reality of the situation. I could have done this before and, you know, guaranteed that I would have used the chest elsewhere. But like by doing it in the order I did, so like, all this to say, I've learned my lesson. We are no longer going to be using chests after. If there's any universe where we're going for like a level and we need, I'm just going to roll first, chest later. Like, it just makes the most sense. But at the same time, I know for like Alice, I wouldn't have rolled until I used the chest, because it was getting to level 5 where I convinced myself, am I really going to stay at level 5 without getting level 6? You know, that was the motivation. So regrets, none, but it was just one of those things where I found it very interesting that I got lucky. I got giga lucky getting 2 there, but I also felt unlucky because I had used the chest. And realistically, there's no difference in getting 2 of them there and just getting 1 of them, because the expectation was to get 1 of them. So the only unluckiness, if you will, is that I didn't play the chess game smart, and B, I now get more what do you call those things? The tokens you get for turning in excess pets. I get more of those because they're legendary, right? So it's like, I just found it fascinating from a psychological point of view, where I genuinely felt luckily unlucky, simply because I got lucky, but I didn't need the luck. Well, I didn't want the luck in that moment, and it felt like wasted luck. Where that's not how RNG works, you know. Ooh, revive, we'll take it. The human psyche is very entertaining, I'll tell you that much. Wait, is this a energy booster map? I think it is, actually. I might be on an energy booster card. Come on, give me compass. Gear expected. All right. We're going to start liquidating now, and we're going to start we're going to be liquidating, and after liquidating we are going to be, what's it called, going through some upgrades pretty much. Now, as you might imagine, wait, what? Collection dolls, did they drop in price? Oh my goodness, they're dropping in price. I was like, I knew there was stuff that was like worth over 1,000 here, but all of a sudden everything is below 1,000. So that means either things dropped in price or, you know, I don't believe I sold anything, did I? I didn't sell anything. So yeah, things just dropped in price. Anyways, time to liquidate. Containment is my most expensive compass. And I knew collection dolls specifically because, yeah, it used to be the most expensive. Containment. Why are we doing one? Fortuitous. Can I just say I also need to do cube as a strategy eventually? Bro. Why 3? Collection doll purples. Bro. Is something wrong? Like, why are we doing half work? Like, just everything. Take everything. Don't take 5. Don't take 3. Take everything. 17. Flourishing deep space. Big money coming from my Sandlord. Sinful plunder. Purple sinful plunder. One thing I really like about this strategy is, and the reason I think I've been able to farm it as much as I have, is it genuinely feels like I can just turn my brain off and play because of how cheap the maps are. So like I don't have to liquidate to play more. I just open the game, I play for as long as I want to, and then whenever I'm kind of getting bored, I stop playing. And I don't have to think about liquidating before or after. I can just keep playing, which is why I was able to get 23k net worth, because I just log on, play, log off. 89.5. Sandalwood. I have this, but I'm going to keep it because that's a part of my slate swap. I'm going to end up using this plus 2 more. I love bountiful lilies. It is so nice. Crude magnetic pointer. Oh yeah. Kind of forgot I meant to be using these. So people buy these for 0.33.
Are you live?
Yes, I am.
Oh damn.
What happened?
Nothing. I was gonna show you.
I assume you stopped talking.
I said I was gonna show you the books I got, but they can wait.
Yeah.
I actually found the Black Lagoon manga, and that makes me so fucking happy.
Have I watched Black Lagoon?
She's gonna try to go with you tomorrow.
I think I'm aware. She's already asked.
I could have told her earlier. That was my bad. I honestly, I wasn't sure I was going till last night.
I mean, I wouldn't have gone today, not as early as you guys went, because we had stuff to do this morning. So it wasn't even a case of we could have gone, like, now we're busy. Someone came into town, and also, like, there was just, it wasn't gonna happen. But how was it?
Had a really good time.
How long did you end up lining up for?
We were in line for an hour and a half, but
The stuff of nightmares.
No, I mean, we went early. If you go later, just because we were trying to, I mean, honestly, we went there, but listen, these books are so cheap. We bought 35, 40 books, $70.
Mm-hmm.
Each manga book is usually $2. And I got there late, knowing that, because we got there like 20 minutes after it had opened.
Yeah.
When I was checking out, I literally watched someone like 4, 5, 6 bags of all the mangas. They just took them all. They're probably reselling it. It doesn't matter to them, but I was a little bit salty about it, but I was just like, you know what? I still got a lot of things I like, so it's fine.
I mean, what can you do?
Sucks that someone can do that, right? But I mean, the money goes to a good cause, so it's like a net win regardless.
That is nice. Right now I'm liquidating. I'm going to do a big upgrade session. Trying to fix my slate and all that.
Nice.
I'm also going to have to sell my current weapon eventually. Not looking forward to that. But yeah, it was, like, I've been told to try rods, like it could be more DPS. No rods, canes. Because it's the cane versus one thing is ones have more additional damage, but canes have a lot of like flat elemental damage potential. So DPS wise, in theory, the cane should be more damage, at least for other setups. So it's possible that it's more damage for mine, just because of how little base damage Magi's have by default. They start with like 300 base damage, and aside your weapon and maybe rings, you're not giving them much base damage. But like when it comes to rings, for context, they have like 300 base damage, like literally just 300 damage, and rings come with like an average of like 64 base damage on T0, 60 something, 70 base damage. It's not a lot of base damage, but it adds up. But then a cane can provide like 800 to like 1,000 base, if you, or actually even more than 1,000 base early. If you go with the right setup, of course. And in theory, that could be more damage, you know. And if I'm trying my best to get more damage, then it would be dumb to not try at least and see. Compass profound probes. I will hide these. Actually, no, let me not hide them. This will be my... I should hide them. I should. I'll hide them. I was gonna say this would be my saying. Yeah, I should be ready for Deep Space Clockwork soon. And in reality, I should be soon. But one thing that has helped me farm up as much as I have so far is just the thought of, oh, I log on, I play, and I don't care about map costs. So I don't care about having to liquidate between runs. So I'm just able to like chain different sessions without any upgrades because it's not going to change my quality of life for what I'm doing. And by being able to chain them, I can now do bigger batches of upgrades where I just get to change a whole bunch of shits. Because at this point, any change you want to make on a build like this, you're changing a whole bunch of different systems because it's all interwoven, right?
Yeah. Makes
Valiant
sense.
War. So yeah.
I was linking Rogue some new videos that popped up today because the Blood Mage players are, are starting to realize that now the Blood Mage is getting gigahertz.
Mm-hmm.
They actually would rather just go Chayula for Cock setups, Cock
Mm-hmm.
Spark setups.
Yeah. I wonder if Oracle will see an increase in play from the Blood Mage refugees.
It's exactly. Remember that Chayula build I wanted to play last week? The
Chayula,
one that
yeah.
was a mana stacker. I was really considering either that or
Blood Mage?
I don't
Was
know
it
if I was
last
considering
league or
Blood
was it
Mage.
the
I
before?
knew it was last league. It was because that's when the build started. It was like a mana stacking Chayula setup because Chayula's had basically infinite mana recovery with the remnants.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not everyone else, especially with the way they're changing leech. They just changed the wording on the remnant, which just says leech 20% of your max mana when you collect a blue flame.
Yeah, which is why I am considering Chayula because that's a lot of health sustain. It sounds like at least. God damn it. Hate having to price twice because the game says, yeah, what I know you're selling everything you have, but like, can I interest you in selling only one of these? And so you have to remove it so you can put everything. It's like, you gotta just put everything to start with. Oh, I have 2 flawless Lunar Dusts. Bro. Dude, can you just put everything by default, please? Like, what are we doing?
Oh, we have a GGG interview in an hour.
We have an interview in an hour?
Yeah, there's no Bagazi.
I mean, I wasn't aware. With who? Jonathan?
I think so.
Let me see. I mean, it's as easy as pulling up which and seeing. Gazi would typically be live before, in that case, and Stalin, but he's not live. What about Darth?
Yeah, it's both. It's both. It's Tavern Talk.
Official dev interview Tavern Talk, Path of Exile 2.0.5 with Jonathan and Mark.
Holy. Content, bro.
What'd you say?
I said you've got content.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Oh, DM it's just starting a stream. Oh, I like his OSRS animation though. Kind of cool.
His stream starting animation is a full custom. Like it's more than even just that, but it's pretty cool.
You mean the one? I mean, has he changed it from all his stream highlights where he would?
I think that one still plays before right before it goes live. But the OSRS animation one, yeah, that one looks really cool.
Yeah, I like it. I like stuff like this.
I started watching him when he changed it to this because I saw a tweet that said it, and I thought that animation was cool.
You started watching after what? After he changed it to OSRS?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, changed this I saw him tweet about it, and I thought the animation was cool because the person did it in like Blender and shit. So I tuned into the stream to see the animation. I think that was one of the first times I saw his post.
For context, guys, this is what it looks like, by the way. It's OSRS stream starting soon. It's cool. I like it. Okay, that means you said by 4, so it's in an hour-ish. I will watch what I can. Actually, if it's in an hour, I should be able to watch everything before having to go out, because I do still have like plans for today. Yeah. So I should be able to watch the full interview, or hopefully. Transgression plunder, you.
Yo, put a pedigree up. I uninstall.
You honest?
I need to for space, yeah.
Alright, I'll find a pedigree.
I'll let you know how much I'm logging in to check.
Hi. What is the worst?
Probably 9K. Just send me a screenshot of it.
I'll find one that is particularly bad. Spend 99 FE to make more. Good.
There are a lot of misunderstandings a lot of people have about this martial artist whirling his soul, because everyone's seen this clip and seen the power charge spending. Before that, you need Alith's chimes for your combos to generate power charges.
You said what now?
That's talking about I said you need Alith's chimes for your combos to generate power charges. The Alith chimes is a linear gem. It's a
lineage
gem
that does well.
You'll not be able to spam like that till then.
What does it do?
Very expensive. It makes spending combo have a chance to give you a power charge.
Oh yeah. That one that has, I think the further in the combo you are, the higher the chance, and then it has like an increasing chance or something like that. They teased it in the martial artist video, right? When they're showing different builds or something.
Put it up for 10.
All right.
And I just need y'all to know that
it's completely ethical.
Until then, Monk has decent power charge generation with calling the weak, and just like calling gives Monk.
It's up.
That's a separate animation.
Yeah.
That's a separate animation. So please do not get baited. It's gonna be bad.
So the problem with this, the problem with it is because whirling the clones, it looks so cool when you have power charges. But I really noticed that when I watch videos, I really noticed the difference when you didn't have those power charges. I was like, that's a very big difference, you know? Like, on the one hand, you have...
It's still playable without, but it's not free.
I mean, if you have one clone doing the thing, it's kind of okay, but like it's like you doing it, except you're starting instead of doing it actually. But when you have like 3 clones, then you can see, oh, this is just a damage multi, you know? Like, instead of having 1 instance of damage, you have 3 instances of damage. Like, there's no universe where that isn't a damage multi. Unless they slapped on a big less when there are multiple clones, you know, which would be dumb for them to do, and they didn't, right? So it's like, I am very curious about the mountains teaching and how that's going to feel, because I feel like having that as like RNG, it might be up, it might not be up. I don't know how that's gonna feel. Like, I genuinely think that's gonna be.
I think, okay, you were right about Ghost Dance, mostly because I didn't recognize they changed that shit from instantly proccing to overtime.
That's entirely what I was saying. That it doesn't matter if you proc 1 or you proc 3. It's just the same regen.
I didn't hear that. That's insane. I honestly, I think I heard that. I didn't process you saying regen, Because I was just looking at the timing, the cooldown. I'm like, all right, oh, this is still, it's still fine. All you gotta do is proc. But if it's over time,
That means all your like I won't mention how it doesn't matter
it's
if
very
it's like
problematic.
it's all it does is refreshes the duration. If you use a second charge while the first is active, it's just oh, now it's going to last longer.
Now and then say, yo, martial artists have an insane glove that gives you more evasion ES than a mid-tier chest.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, they can give you that much now because they know. Let that ground be burning, motherfucker. You are gonna be nothing but pure life. I would rather play a deflection build, I think. But
Yeah,
you don't really get that choice if you go hollow bomb. So
ES is going to be an interesting choice to go this season. I'm not going. I know I'm not going ES. I'm going evasion for the first time, like Giga evasion, because it's a companion build. I might as well. I hope I don't have to travel to the top left, but I think I already planned on doing talisman gaming, but we'll see. Why? For the Lord of the Wilds, just talisman, big flat number, give minion stonks, go up. That's kind of the idea, but we'll see. We'll see if I have to travel to the top left. But with the say 19, is it 19 new nodes or 19 new clusters for companion nodes or something? Let's just hope that's more than enough support that I don't feel pressure to go in top left. Because at the end of the day, thank you. At the end of the day, that whole travel path to the top left, if the opportunity cost, i.e. the nodes at the bottom right, are good enough, then all the flat damage I'd be getting by going that and going for the talisman, all that will be balanced out by just using those extra points to get more scaling factors in the bottom right, which is the way games like these balance stuff like that. By the way, the reason you have to travel, all of that is opportunity cost. It's all of that is, instead of going into all these nodes that would be impactful for you here, it is not, which is why the tree has been bad or has been as in a weaker spot, or part of why it's been in a weaker spot, because the opportunity cost doesn't exist, in the sense of if I'm a minion build and I'm bottom right, I have nothing to use. So I'm just going to the top left. So it's not opportunity cost, it's just the way you do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Sublets. I mean, are you ever looking forward to anything? Let's be honest. I mean, I do look forward to stuff. Okay, have you and Deconic ever considered just not playing the PoE2? Might be good for the mental. I think not playing PoE2 right now would be it would be the opposite of good for the mental. But yes, I am going Spirit Walker. Liz, have you considered that playing PoE2 might be good for your mental? You'll have my head for that. All right, Sprouts. How much are you going for now? 101. That's not bad. It's slowly going down. I never appreciated just how much less embers you get doing clockwork. It actually is a surprising amount. Like, I sold all the embers when I started this strat, and I now have 1700. You actually get a very healthy amount. Dark Surge is 9 FE. Oh. The Tunket. All right, I've reduced my net worth down to like 7K from 24K because I haven't claimed anything since I started selling. Shadow Overrealm. Lavish. All right, now let's claim. Keep in mind this pedigree, 8.7K. Tax is a bitch, yo. Can I just say? But it's all good. And I guess that makes it official. Arcane is done with the season.
Jesus, one of my best seasons ever. Loved every
It,
moment of
it,
it.
one of, I think it's been your best season. Hands down. You beat SS20, my guy.
Clockwork was really good.
Had a lot of
yeah,
fun playing
probably. I played that for a very long time. Yeah.
it. Listen, never. Also, I almost missed this stream. You almost did what now? Like you didn't see a notification or something? So we have 21.5k. Holy. I don't want I don't you see I've gotten to the point where I'm rooting for Lit's stream streak. So like I would be distraught if you missed the stream simply because you're where is it? 110 streams in a row. That is insane. 110. Like having a stream streak that long end would be heartbreaking. Now that I have all this currency, I'm staring at it and I don't want to spend it all, but I do want to spend it all before I hit claim all. There's something about having currency that's just like, yeah, you don't want to see it disappear. All right, what was the first thing we said? Prairie, which means we buy prairie, we sell 2430. Then we sell our with the prairie, we're going to sell our space rifts. $1,500 pretty much.
I have a question. So Cat and 9, the D4 campaign, where we just realized that like the story about Mephisto, Lilith just told us that Mephisto was in us.
Yes.
And then we went into looking into exactly what happened with Mephisto. Then we fought what was his name? Azrael.
We faced Mephisto as
No, the angel. The angel did we fought him. Azrael, that you have to like chain him.
that you have to chain him. Is this at the end or like mid campaign?
I was gonna ask you where we are in it, but I'm trying to remember the angel's name from Diablo.
Anarius?
Yeah, Anarius.
Oh, you are facing his memory.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that campaign is just a blur. But I'll say you're probably like 60% maybe. Yeah, probably like 60%. Inarius. $110 was today. Yep. So I have this thing that happens in my house and I don't fully understand why, but I typically stay alone, so it's not a big problem. But when certain switches or certain just inconsequential things happen in my house, my monitor just goes off, and it's not both of them, it's just one of them. I don't understand why that happens. It's just like, oh yeah, now it's off. Like, why? I assumed it was voltage or something, but who knows?
Oh, your monitor just be turning off?
Yeah, like one of them just turns off.
Monitor.
Just the monitor. Just now,
it's not really a house thing. It's a GPU thing.
What do you mean?
Hopefully it's not a bad sign, but
I mean, it's been happening for a while at this point. But just now, when it happened, my mouse and my keyboard also disconnected. But I think that is
You think it's a place thing, not a computer thing. Just to be clear, just to clarify.
Yes, because it happens when it doesn't just randomly happen. It's like they turn on, like if someone turns on the vent in the bathroom, it can happen as an example. It doesn't just happen. It happens
Power
when
draw maybe.
something happens. Yes.
Power draw.
Like
Probably.
when something happens, it happens. Like it doesn't just happen by itself. It's
That
like,
might know actually.
oh, this someone did this. It should be inconsequential. Nope, my screen is off now. Like sometimes my girl would plug her phone and it will happen. Like it's the most bizarre thing ever. It's so weird.
I was gonna say, speaking of bizarre things, Deadlock's most recent update was an urn change. I don't know if you saw that. They changed
No,
the way the urn works, how you have to drop it. Now you have to drop it in the center of the map, like above mid boss in the open. But it has a depositing time, so it takes a while to get deposited, so it makes everyone come fight. It's really weird and crazy, and like, it's a
so
whole thing.
so it's kind of like what they wanted mid boss to be, but I guess they failed with mid boss, so now it's earn.
A little bit. And they made a lot of changes, but another notable one is Magic Carpet isn't like a carpet thing like that anymore. Now it just makes you have Celeste like gravity.
That's kind of us. Like magic. I mean, I didn't care
You
for
still,
much
I
for
think you might
magic
still be able to
carpet,
do a
but
carpet version, but for the movement tech people who can actually use that shit to its max on other characters, that might be
yeah.
kind of crazy.
No, it is
Like a vicious
crazy.
bouncing through the air and then
Like I don't doubt that it's crazy. I'm just saying, like personally, I enjoy the identity of magic carpet being a magic carpet.
it was cool too.
Does that make sense?
I mean, I never saw it at games really. When you saw it, it was something. Oh, he's running away with Magic Carpet.
Yeah, like
that's the only time I've ever seen
it always felt like it was troll. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't like was insane or was strong or something, but like, how do I put it? I appreciated that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is +1. I want to get on that slate, and if I can get a rare here. Corner here, corner here. What corner can I transfer the bottom? Is it any? No. I need to work on his slate. And I think that might just end up being you. I don't want to transfer charge interval because fuck that.
I don't know exactly what changed with D4 loot, but I saw this clip of a Chinese person dropping a having a 12 GA drop.
A single 12 GA?
Yes.
What? How many mods can an item even have? What do you mean by what does 12 GA mean?
Know, bro, but I linked it to you. I don't know. I generally don't know. I generally don't.
Excuse me, what? This hmm.
Is that a special like item that
No, this just looks like a legendary. And these just look like stats. And then he has this one stat that he has rerolled. And then everything else is GA'd. I must be very out of touch with D4's current state.
for real? Because I've been following some people on Twitter that play it, and they be linking shit. I was like, what the fuck is that? It's like, what is that? What is that item? Apparently, there's some like interesting farms. So yeah, I think D4 might have like a bigger ceiling than I thought.
Maybe I should check it out before PoE2. I still haven't really
Done,
checked out the end game. I God of Machines. Take that off. Let's go for honestly 3 legendary spots. Then item collection, Divinity Slate related wedges. They're like 34 a piece, 33.9. We'll do that. Buy 20 because I fully expect to finish them. Divinity Pact. I mean, let me claim what I have and then I will. This has Spirit Mages and passive. So plus the minion is Machinist. Yes, you're about 60% on the way through campaign. Oh, sure, really? So I was accurate. Didn't think I was, if I'm going to be honest, but that's nice. I think I'm going to get some Steel Vanguard, so 62. Jesus, guys went up in price. 4, 2, 1, 1. And then you 6.2. You also went a bit more expensive in price. So this one can give me additional. Is it Machinist? Machinist has plus something. I'm not about to buy 16G. This is not better. It's God of fucking machines I was looking for. God damn it. Thank God I didn't buy 16.
Apparently, it's an exploit with transfiguring to ensure it never gets unmodified. But it's real. Impossible this league.
Interesting. And they're just not going to do anything about it, I assume.
Not sure if they will or not. I mean, it's a weekend now.
Bruh. Dude.
Looks like something I thought was interesting about D4 that I learned recently is they have an algorithm personalized market system. So what you and I see on the shop for deals might never be the same depending on our lifestyle and purchasing habits that they've built up from your profile.
Really?
Someone on the Reddit posted how they literally they're like, you guys keep crying about how expensive the skins are in this game, but why aren't you getting these ones that go for $5 when they go on sale? And everyone's like, what the fuck? And so everyone's like, okay, asking the person like, have you bought any skins before? The person's like, I've literally never bought a skin. I've only ever gotten like I just like this is the first like I've been playing this whole time, and I think I only ever used the free season pass you got when you got the game. And so everyone's just like, and then we're seeing people who are saying they've had that, and it's starting a lot of conversation. And I'm like, okay, damn, I didn't know they actually had that because Amazon used to have that, but I think they got made to pull it because I mean
It's
Amazon data is
predatory.
insane. They'll claim that it's to give people who can't afford it better opportunities, but we know that that is troll.
They're trying to get the best bang for their buck.
Oh, good.
Ain't
So
nobody.
just tell me that all the world needs is less government intervention.
Yeah, get with the program, my guy. I'm gonna do Alchemists. Alchemist has +1 passive and damage transfer. And then it gives me the worst one. Beautiful. Please. I'm gonna need... I mean, now that the bottom is fine, I just need to take the best bang for my buck. That is not you. I think that is probably going to be Steel Vanguard, because it can have this one. And I guess there's also Machinists. Machinist actually doesn't have anything. Maybe this one, but it doesn't have anything. God of Machines has nothing as well. Well, it has +1 minion, but it's literally a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 1 in 5. And out of that, only 3 of them I can live with. So maybe I'll use God of Machines as the last one. But till then, we go Steel Vanguard and Prage. Holy. All right. Please. What am I going to try to get here? I either leave this rare, which obviously makes it so I can get whatever mod I want. And what mods are there? For my setup, I would care about... Is there anything here I care about? I guess crit could be fine. Crit is probably fine. If not crits... Yeah, why not crits? I'm not gonna use res there. Like, I could. Res honestly could be supplemental here. But alternatively, there's also me trying to get God of Machines going. 1 in 5 for minion skill level. If I get hasting or spell aggression, that saves me a point on the tree. Not the end of the world. But like, if I get these two, that's literally just a waste of a mod space that could be on crits. We'll go for crits. Because Lord knows I am not resetting this slate. It ain't happening. It's a lot less important that I get something insane here, not that I'm no longer using Space Rift. I think that is like the biggest motivation for me to not click it. Interviews in 22 minutes. Yeah, we can do this for now. Okay. That's late done. So that's +1 passive, +1 passive. I think for this one, I want it to be surrounded by something that is like, again, be surrounded by falling starlight that has +1 spirit Magi at the bottom. And then we can use I could do corner, 2 corners, but like that's less mods. I could do corner, slate. No, I said corner, fallen, slates. That is probably the best bang for my buck in terms of power. Get fallen for here. But I also have my divinity. So that means if I'm going to use my divinity effect, guys, like this, which I do want to use. Cooldown recovery, damage minion. Where's the next one? Oh yeah, it was a corner. So that one is this guy. I can have a moth. But the problem with this setup is because I have all these divinity effect corners, which aren't helping, I don't have a fourth slate to put beside my prairie, which is bad. So one of y'all, and I think it's this one, is going to have to dip, and instead of CDR damage transfer, we're going to have damage transfer and addition, and like I won't say additional damage because we have 8% here, but addition. Oh, space rift sold. We're going to have damage transfer and level of spirit Magi. Right, that is going to be here. It's going to take this spot. It's going to be falling starlight, and then with that we can have a moth here to take that same mod. That's what we're going to do. The problem with this is that we end up losing we're going to end up losing cooldown recovery as a mod unless we change this fallen to get +1 and then another non-divinity. So that would be, instead of having this one, instead of having this guy, we have this mod split between 1 here and 1 here. But both of them would have bottoms that can be copied by the prairie and the moth. So we lose a level here, but we get back that level on the moth. But we still keep all the divinities and they're exactly what we want. That's not bad. We can also get a falling starlight here, so we can get a third moth or a second moth. And by doing that, we keep these mods. We get the extra 2 mods that come, and we get an extra level, an extra 8% damage. Yeah, I think I prefer to do that. So we're going to do that. So we're going for 2 legendary divinity slates, 2 falling starlights. This first one is going to have Spirit Mage's level as the last mod. And then it is going to have damage transfer, or we'll use this one. It's going to have transfer, or cooldown, and we need one. $2,000 FE, yo. Does he have to be Spirit Mages? Let me think. Let me see, actually. Level 32. If I get rid of this, god damn it, it does. Fine. So the reason it has to be Spirit Magi level is because it affects protection field levels. That's why. And it's a slate that I'm going to copy multiple times, so I kind of can't skimp on it. Then now that we have 8% damage transfer, we can go for, well, firstly, we don't even have Spirit Mage's cooldown. So with the absence of Spirit Mage's cooldown, bro, what? With the absence of this combo, we're going to just have to use this. Summon Spirit Mages, so they don't have a minion tag now. But at the end of the day, I don't know how picky we can be. Early res, erosion res. I mean, 2% is still res. Beggars can be choosers. What if I did this? No, I can't. It can't be that. The reason it can't be that is this has to take that spot. And then I'll go for base ailment, max summonable. Wait a second. Max summonable. And then spirits. This has intelligence. This I can use. So if I use this falling starlight, wait, hold up. So here's the thing. If I use this falling starlight, here I get to replace minion level with spirit mage's level, and I get to keep 2 levels on this. 9.55 if I switch it off for what was there before. 9.55, 9.65. So I get 0.2% damage transfer. Is that worth 2k? No, it is not. I'm not going to bother. So now we're going for max summonable and base ailments. We're removing these two, switching this to 2. Removing cooldown because it's not necessary. Then falling starlights. Yes. This has origin effect though. I mean, say less. These things are so fucking expensive. Just spending like 2k a piece on these fuckers. But alas, should be worth it. And now we're going to get 2 moths that are left. $460. So now up to 9.65, we go to 9.75. We're to get to level 36. So if we get to level 40, 75, 85, 95. So we can get to 9.95 if we're to get to level 40. Basically almost 10%. That would be nice actually. But I mean, even if we wanted to, we really can't unless we like get spirit mages here. Spirit mages here, that'll give us 2 extra levels, 2 extra levels here. That's 4 extra levels from where we are. That's 38. And then this would need to have one, which we can't get one that has that. So at best, we get to 38, which is 0.85. So that'd be 0.4 extra damage transfer. All right, slates are done. This should be a lot of damage. A lot of damage. And now that we've gotten poisoned relief, we can now switch this to Rotted Taboo. This is Trauma, Wilt, Ignite. Yeah, so the 3 that I was cycling. They're going to be a lot harder to cycle because they'd be replacing. I can't even cycle reliably anymore, is what that means. Because the one I was cycling is really not cyclable anymore. They are now split into 2 that are now always transference. But I guess if I don't need the levels, then I can just replace this guy. No, not this guy. This one. Yeah. We'll see. Anyways, Rotted Taboo time. And we'll soon put up what's it called? Tavern Talk. We need 2 level 9s, 375. Much cheaper than the last time I bought, like almost half the price. Literally 750. Nice. Now with Rotted Taboo, we can swap my chess piece. Watch them. I can't see the animation. I can hear it, but I can't see it for some reason. And I don't know why I can't see it. There it is. For when I do it normally.
We have many friends. 1, 2. It's enough.
Why are you not working? I'm also not taking the damage for some reason. Is it bugged? I bought it on a regular belt and it was working. But I don't seem to be taking damage. So this is what it looks like when I'm just doing my thing.
Moments like that. Some are our friends. Some are enemies.
What the hell is even going on here? Thing is, I am not taking the damage to begin with. And like, it makes no sense that it's not working. There is no condition on it except when casting a skill.
Understand why a rapidly fading life should dream every day. I've had all those dreams.
I don't get it.
We've witnessed many final moments like that. Some were our friends. Some are enemies.
Why are you not working? Are you just bugged on Vorax? Is that it? What? You know what it is? There's something I'm seeing immune on someone. And there shouldn't be any reason why, you know, I am immune to the erosion damage, but it's only one source I'm seeing immune on. So why was it showing immune? It says immune when I'm there, but it doesn't say immune here, which I find interesting.
Please select the calibration intensity for invincibility number 2.
Why the fuck are you not working, my G? It is making actually no sense. Because I am not taking the damage. And there's no universe where I'm immune to taking the erosion damage. So what gives? I'll take this off. I will go in here. Are you guys seeing? There's no immune. It doesn't say immune. Now it's saying immune. And it's saying immune when I'm proccing my passive. So somehow,
Bro.
all right, there's just something really weird going on with this, with this interaction, and I suspect it has to do with the belt. I don't fully understand how. I'm not immune to secondary damage. There's nothing.
Dylan, somewhere testing volume.
Oh.
Check.
Holy, Jonathan's sipping wine.
Okay, sounds like
Holy.
that's going on.
Holy.
All right, and I think we're ready to get started, boys. So, welcome to Tavern Talk. Thank you for having this conversation with us, talking about 0.5, the reveal you guys have showed, and some other things. Today, I don't know the number of the podcasts we're on, but it doesn't really matter. So we're going to get started with some opening questions. So I'll just pass it off to Ghazi to kind of get started with the icebreaker.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just start off with obviously 0.5 being the largest patch, quote unquote, ever, right? And just curious about the nerves and excitement of levels of that leading up to the reveal trailer itself.
It was pretty crazy because the development honestly felt very scattered because they were working on so many things at the same time. Like normally we're working on like there's usually one focus, but because we're working on so many leagues at the same time, it was just really, really hard to bring together. So I would say it's honestly been one of the tougher development cycles in terms of just like getting the studio to be able to handle everything. Because like even just like a review session, we would go through one and have a look at a bunch of stuff, and then be like, oh crap, we totally forgot about this total other area. Like honestly, like so many times I'm like, we've forgotten how much content is even in this damn release. We would just miss stuff, and then so yeah, like it just made it really, 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 really difficult. But also, yeah, when there's so many different scattered things, it is quite stressful because you're like, you just have this feeling of like, am I forgetting something all the time? So yeah, real tough one. But the thing is, like, in the last, having that extra time between the announcement and the release has actually been really, really good because we've kind of getting everything back together again. Like we can sort of see it as a cohesive thing again, and that's honestly been really, really important, especially for doing an in-game release.
Did there come a point when you guys were?
Let me turn up the sound on this.
Okay, we have too much on the scale. Like this is where we have to stop. Like, because I remember in one of the interviews, Mark was saying he was looking at notes, and you had so many notes that you got to a point where you're like, I don't even remember making these notes. You know, you kept talking so much.
The problem that we had is that because we wanted to really make sure that the message was like the end game has totally changed, on some level we just had to do sort of everything. So yeah, even though we might have liked to make it smaller, we kind of honestly couldn't. Which isn't to say there wasn't like a bunch of stuff that we didn't end up cutting anyway, but still, it's been we sort of had to do something. And then like it kind of led to this fact that then we're like a month later than we would hope would be, and that kind of thing as well. So like there's been stuff like that that's kind of definitely been downsides. But overall, I think it is really important because it's just a really important change. Like it really does very fundamentally change how the in-game feels. And I was even seeing recently like there are just a lot of people who they wouldn't play the end game of PoE 2 because it just doesn't have you need something to sort of like give them some direction, and we just didn't have that. And so now I've got people who are like friends, so they've like played through the PoE 2 campaign, but they've never really been an endgame player. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, I actually I'm going to play this. Like that's been a thing that I've seen. So it's something that I'm like that I think was really important to do.
Do you think that that's primarily like the reason they didn't play the end game was because of a level of confusion of like, what do I do next? Or do you feel like you didn't have enough like things in it to make it interesting? Because I remember something you come back to like pretty continually when this point gets brought up is like if an area feels like too big or like uncomfortable, that a lot of times it's an indicator of not having enough things in it.
I think that can be the case, but I do think in this situation it really was more the direction. Like you got to the end game before it opens up, and it's like, okay, well now I can just kind of go wherever, right? Like there wasn't really you do need a quest line, like you do need something there, just to give you some form of understanding what to do. And I find even myself, I'm like way more interested in doing end game stuff right now than I was before. Yeah, like it helps a lot.
You say that this is a focus more of the idea of creating a getting off point, or is it more towards just creating a sense of direction? Like which one matters the most, or is it like a mix of the two?
It really is a mix of the two. Like both of those things are important, and we did. I think in the before we got to developing 050, we were mostly talking in terms of giving people direction. But during 050 timeline, when was it? There was a moment, I can't remember when it was, Mark, but there was some moment where we were kind of like where we realized like the problem with PoE 2 right now is that you don't know when to stop playing. And therefore you have the situation and people just get like more and more bitter about like the fact that, you know, they're just doing the same thing again. Like there just wasn't, that getting off point thing was just super important. So
I think
that
this
definitely
was
050 time horizon when we realized that. And that's also been one of those things where we sort of somewhat later in development, we realized that we had to make the time it took to do the stuff shorter. Like it getting longer and longer was actually a problem as well. Like we actually had something where the amount of time it would take to finish it was too high. And that's even been something we've changed in the last like few weeks even more. So previously we kind of assumed that it would be fine to have like, I can't remember the number there was. There was probably like 25, 30 maps, something like that in each of the areas for the individual leagues. And you had to do all of those in order to get all the points for a league tree. And we were kind of like, that seemed fine at first. Like we sort of thought that would be okay. But actually the amount of time that an average user takes to do 30 maps is actually quite long. And in practice, when you're playing it, it just kind of felt like there was too much there. So then what we decided to do is make it so that when you kill the pinnacle boss, you get an extra 6 points. So basically, and you can effectively not do 6 of the maps. And then if you go into the infinite and get more keys and kill it again, you basically get 6 points, so you can effectively complete it 2 ways. You either do all the maps one by one, or you kill the pinnacle boss more times to get more points that way. And effectively that means that the time taken to actually do one of those league trees has been reduced. And so we're really focusing on basically just making sure that it doesn't feel like it takes too long to do an individual league, so you can make sure that you the cleanup phase part does not feel annoying.
Sure. We I think we're now at the where I see it discussing with others, but I think I'm the same. Where I'm going to get to the pinnacle
what is
boss,
happening?
the pinnacle boss. I'm going to get.
Is this me?
No, it's him.
On my end, but you're kind
Yeah,
of
it's on
cutting
me
a
as
little bit
well.
on your.
Yeah.
Okay. I was so confused. I'm like, what?
Here testing? Yeah, not sure. Anyway, we're at the point now where when I'm playing, and I've seen this a few other more high-end players in the office as well. I think we really wanted to get to the point where we, as a good player, you should think, okay, I'm going to get to the pinnacle boss, kill the pinnacle boss for each league, including the fortress, and then go into the infinite. There's something about wanting to do that, and when the completion time for everything was so long, there was like, okay, this is starting to feel too grindy, and I want to get out there. I want to get more pinnacle kills and all of that, and yet I'm feeling like I'm having to. I guess it's that not wanting to have to turtle for too long. That the same thing the original tower mechanic had, and it started to feel that way, where it's like I want to get out there, but I can't, and I want to move to the next league.
I'm going to get water real quick. Give me a second.
It's at this. Like I think the number of towers when we first did the presentation to was 8 on the fortress, and each tower meant every time you killed the arbiter, you could complete a section of maps. Now it's 5. So like we've been showing that. I think the number of maps. I think the total number of maps you have to run to finish the fortress, if you were to just shortest path then go farm the infinite, is now like it's probably actually less than if you were to finish the whole fortress, which is interesting because at first I was like, surely for doing the whole fortress should be less maps total. But actually just due to the fact that you don't have determinism when out there, and you're finding other things, you're on other little kind of effectively side quests. It does end up being that you kind of want it to be less maps overall because you're constantly having to do all these other things while in the infinite. So it's at this nice fine line now where it is balanced. It's feeling a lot better. Whereas like before it was definitely, and immediately from a handful of our staff that were playing, they're just like, holy crap, this is taking forever. So it's in a real good spot. And then yeah, as Jonathan said, now just even all the leagues have the same thing. So only the Fortress had the shortcutting, I guess you could say. Now every single one of the leagues has it to some degree. It's feeling really good for sure. And yeah, hopefully we'll have to see, because it's that kind of thing as well, where when you play it a second time, you're going to have a little bit of a different feeling about it. And so we'll have to see how that comes as well once we have another league start at some point.
But that's
Is that
usually
sort
how.
of what?
Sorry.
Go on, bud.
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, that's kind of like the whole cadence of playing something for the first time. Because I think that point one was the early access launch was like one of the most exciting things ever. Everything was new. We got to experience everything. The second time we play through it, that's when we go nitpicking. Like, you know what, that area is a little too large, or that issue there. You start being, seeing the downsides of things you got annoyed with on the first playthrough, which was overshadowed by the positive things. I'm just curious if this is the
Sup,
reason you
Helix?
guys kind of want to have both of the last acts coming for 1.0 instead of sooner. Is that the same kind of reasoning there?
It's not. That isn't the reason, although that will be
What's up, Tor?
I suppose. But the actual reason is just that we think that 1.0 needs to have something that like is like there's a lot of people, especially if you're talking about the sort of more casual audience, who the thing they're interested in is campaign stuff, and so by finishing the campaign in 1.0, those people
Watching an interview with the devs and
a good release.
Some PvP streamers.
I don't think there's like
pretty
a lot
much
of risk there for us in terms of like
ARPG streamers is
you
martyrs.
know what I mean? Like it's not going to be one of those
Jonathan's
things
gonna
where
lose
like,
it in this interview.
we have to make sure we're
Why
testing
is
this
that?
because it's gonna it's gonna go off the rails or something like that. Like we know we can do
Watch
it.
it.
So therefore we're
He's
sort of
drinking
quite
wine.
safe just putting something like that in 1.0.
Yeah, so he's
yeah,
doing
that's
he's
kinda
doing
like
more
hearing from my
chill.
dad.
ultimately it comes down to that. And also
I know
like
he's
right
gonna
now
lose
the
it
other thing as
soon.
well is like if we hadn't have added the interludes, we'd probably be feeling pretty differently about this. But because we've got the interludes there to kind of mean that you don't have that whole thing which we originally were going to have.
Oh, I'm good. Just waiting for Purity to freaking launch.
Repeat parts of the campaign.
And just
because we don't have that.
trying to buy time till then, essentially. Playing TLI, having that annoy me and stuff.
Early access feel worse as well. So, but I think the thing that has been interesting, is like all that sort of campaign replayability stuff as well. That's been something that I'm really hoping that people will see that we've made some pretty big strides there this time as well. Like the replaying thing, the more times you replay it, the more annoying certain things get. And I saw some freaking short recently that DM made. With you like being like, oh yeah, I hit it as soon as Act 3, and actually, that was the moment, by the way, when I saw that. Is like, I'm gonna fix this freaking lever thing that everyone's complaining about. Let's actually sort that out.
Hell yeah!
Because I'm like, I don't want that to be the video.
Complaining content works.
It works, proven.
So yeah, then that was like one of the
Don't
few
tell
things
people
in the
that.
campaign replayability section I patched.
Oh, don't worry. You don't have to.
Like,
You
be happy to see that thing.
you don't have
Stuff
to.
like that all around the place, right? Like the way
You don't have to tell them. There's more than enough complaining content out there.
There's just some areas that were there were some areas that were too big and stuff like that, and like
Should prepare for exams, but I can ease them like I am right now. Oh shit, the confidence, I love it.
A little bit of extra level after killing Viper, and now after you kill Viper, it's like
I've been playing TLI.
zone, and it's just stuff like that all over the place that we're doing, just streamlining and smoothing and stuff like that. So I'm hoping Act 3 will feel a lot better now than what it has in the past. Like I think it's a pretty significant improvement. But the other one as well is like and this one, so I had an interesting experience recently where the build that I was playing was like not good, and it's been a little while since I played a really bad build. And like the monster density and the interludes when your build is bad is actually pretty damn terrible in terms of like the ability to clear through them. Like it was oppressive. And at some point I realized, like I was playing in the
skill diff
Stones of Searle, which is like that one with the standing stones.
What on earth?
At what point did we get it to the point in the interlude where you no longer have to move? Like you never use movement. Like every single thing you're doing is just attacking. And then because there's so many monsters, like you're just attacking your way from one place to another, and it just like never ever ends. And I'm like, this is actually kind of like this is a grind. Like this is actually not good. Like campaign should not be like
Base.
this.
Kind of tiring.
And
I'm
so
not gonna lie.
it sort of forced me to be like,
what
there's
team?
some serious issues here. And we actually found
tiring sometimes.
This one's actually a little bit.
I mean, at interlude, you're kind of the gas from the campaign, and you just want it to
I
end.
think what happened was that
You're just like, fuck.
there was
so
some
many-
things about the pack density in campaign, where we had like the last few areas get to a certain density, what used to be the last few areas being like, the last couple of areas of Act 3, and then some of that stuff kind of continued on like deeper into the campaign than whereas it should have like dialed back again after being higher in those last few areas. And so I think that's probably what happened. But it just meant that some of those areas and especially Interlude just got ridiculous. And so that's something that I don't think I would have realized if I wasn't playing such a crap build. Because but I suspect that a lot of players getting that experience. So that's been something I really want to try and address a little bit more. And I think that there's even some of that going on at the start of Endgame as well. Like there's a few things there that that if you're got a crap build, like you don't notice it if you don't, if you've got a good build, but if you've got a bad build, it can actually be really oppressive. So like another one recently, I don't know if you want me to talk about this, Mark, about the whole poise thing with powerful bosses. Like, are you good for me to mention that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, so
and
here's an example of
stop.
something. So I was playing something that
Whoa,
required
why? Ooh.
freezing. It was
Let's
the
see,
actually it was
let's
the
see.
werewolf freeze combo, right?
Hold.
And I encountered it. But as I said, my build was crap. I was not building it well. And
Okay.
I got to a powerful boss to get the map upgrade.
Mark is
and I was
laughing.
like, okay.
He knows where this is going.
Plus 100% life would kind of like, sure, it makes the boss fight twice as longer. But for some reason, I was hitting this powerful boss and it made the fight feel like 3 times or worse. Like it was like really, really hard, like way harder than I expected. And it took a little while of asking around to try and find out what was going on here. But effectively, because my DPS was so dependent on getting the freeze, and we had a thing where when the boss gets life is doubled, effectively the poise thresholds, which we use for calculating, like resistances to things like getting frozen, got doubled as well.
Thank you.
That, effectively,
Yes,
my DPS
this.
was getting like maybe not halved, but something like halved due to the fact that I wasn't getting the freeze. So my damage was half. The monster had double life. So it's effectively taking me 4 times longer to kill this boss than what it would normally take. And I was literally running out of
Me and fucking Temple lastly.
like, not being able to beat this thing. I'm like, I've
Yeah,
hit a
but they're only
progress
doing it for
log,
powerful
like,
bosses.
upgrading from like T1 to T2 maps.
We'll
here.
take it.
Like, this is
I mean,
a
does it
bad
affect
situation,
me
right?
realistically?
Like,
Like last season, it was because of Temple.
But like, why?
No other reason.
Like, that build should be able to do this, right? Because this is one of those things where, like if you're talking T1 maps, like this is something that an average player should not find as the roadblock, And yeah, so it's like there's still things like this around that we haven't realized, that we just need to uncover and improve. And like this is one of those things where it really is quite context dependent in the situation where you find something like that. And like, and to give you another example of a random one I ran into just yesterday.
Wait, are we not doing anything about this?
Okay, so the boss in the
Wow, so we don't do anything about it.
I was fighting it. And I was talking to my friend who was sitting next to me, who was, like every weekend, he'll come over and we'll talk about various things. And I'm like, he was like, oh, that boss health bar is really long. And I'm like, well, how long should it be? Like, how long should it take to kill a boss? This kind of thing. This was the conversation. He's like, oh, for this boss, I'd say, because it doesn't have any interesting abilities at all, that it should be a lot shorter. I'm like, this boss does have a bunch of abilities. This is the Devourer. Like, what the hell? And then I realized, hang on a second, the Devourer and the Bloodwood, none of its freaking abilities are working. Like it just sits there and freaking attacks you, and it doesn't like do the moving around thing. I'm like, how did I never notice this before? Like the problem here is like someone who set that area up, they just forgot to put the markers in. This is what I'm assuming, right? I haven't actually looked into it, but I'm assuming they just forgot to put the markers down that control the place where that boss can move. And like you look at something like that, and you're like, and it's like it's so easy as a higher end player to fail to notice stuff like that, because it's one of those things you only run into when your build is crap and when it's taking you longer and that kind of thing. And so yeah, it's so hard as a developer to notice this stuff, quite frankly. Like and you just lose sight of it. So yeah, the hope is just that that we can actually find all this stuff and fix it. Like it does. It just it just takes a lot of iterations to sort of actually end up noticing stuff like that.
So I want to follow up on. I want to follow up on. Yeah. I want to follow up on one point you said there, because I'm actually really interested about, which is you said you realize you had a bad build, right? And then you were feeling swarmed because you got a bad build. You're getting swarmed by mobs, right? So how do you come to the diagnosis of when it's like, okay, my build is bad, but also like part of the problem is I'm getting swarmed, as opposed to like, okay, maybe some of these skills aren't really in the position where we feel like they should be in order to clear the mobs. When do you decide that it's the content
when the build is good at its clear shites, maybe?
My first reaction there was to compare effectively default attacks, because so the werewolf build I was using was like shred and like there's stuff that like there's stuff that I should have done for supports in order to make that better and so on. But we just sort of like looking like the first port of call was go to go to designers who know about like the getting the numbers right and basically say like, is my build okay? Is the numbers right in terms of comparison? Like you just have to get that information right. And like we decided, you know what, like it is like what you've got here with your build isn't good, but in terms of the underlying skills, it is okay. Like the numbers are fine. So like that was an investigation, and then there's the question, okay, like your build is bad, but are your items just bad? And no, they were, your items are fine. It's like, here's a look at your passive tree, and it's like, okay, so my passive tree was like bad in the way that like you could definitely be a lot better, but I was kind of on purpose this time taking a bit
My
more of
build
a
sounds like a
defensive
skill
approach. Like, I was
diff.
like, if I'm the kind of person who's going to allocate way more defenses and way less damage, and
Where's
so
my
sort of see
personal
how I do,
PoE dev?
that was like
No,
kind of part of what I was doing
he
here.
intentionally made a
So,
bad
like, I
build
wanted to
so
make
he
sure
could
that it can be
experience the
okay even in
game
that situation.
from that point of view. It's not because it's actually bad and he couldn't
There's
do
also
anything
this other
about it.
situation where if you're
He
a
just
good
wanted to know
player,
if it's justifiably bad. Like this is
because you're hitting the whole screen, like the amount of monster density
the
in a
build is
situation
bad
like
versus
that
the
isn't
skill is bad.
necessarily
Does that make
like,
sense?
depending on a build, right? Most builds that are good have some kind of they've got big AoE clear, right? Like they have the ability. Like it doesn't necessarily matter whether there's like 40 monsters on screen or 15 monsters on screen in terms of like their ability to clear that content. So it sort of matters more for a build that doesn't have that as much, which I wasn't doing as much. So in the situation where you're a character like that, then the only thing that's the extra monsters are really doing is just giving you more drops in experience. And so we sort of have to make sure that like we're able to make sure that that's not broken. But I do think that we don't need quite the level of spamminess that we had in terms of just like tiresome.
What?
It's like even something as simple as like there's a moment between one fight to the next where your energy shield can recover. Like just literally something as simple as that can be like something that can matter a little bit there. Like if it's just absolutely continuous, then there is a problem there, especially during campaign.
One other follow-up about this point, then I'll pass it off to Ghazi. As you said, you were kind of purposefully taking a more defensive approach, and I'm kind of curious at what realizations you came to. Like, what was your conclusion about making the build? Like, I'm going to heavily, more focus on defenses this time, as opposed to, damage on the tree. Like, what was your experience like with that?
Well, I mean, the thing with defense that's really hard to solve is that it's way harder to appreciate defense when you allocate it than damage. Like it can be quite like it does save you, but it's really hard to know that. And actually, I've got another thing a little bit with Runic Ward here as well, which I noticed as when I was doing this, which is that so I had some Runic Ward, and Runic Ward obviously you get to one life, and then it saves you and so on. But that's another one of those things that's really hard to appreciate.
Yeah.
And I'd look down at my life sometimes, and I'd notice that my Runic Ward was like halfway filled. And I'm like, okay, so at some point there, I would have died, and I just didn't know that. Because like I'm like flasking or whatever, so I've got like a half health at the point where I look, but yet my water's down as well. It's like I actually didn't appreciate the fact that that ward had saved me. So then I said I was thinking
It's a
about
big
this. Like,
glass shattering sound you just hear as you're
audible,
giving.
like, I've lost my life. My water's
What
broken. Like, we
broke?
need some kind of sound to indicate that. To sort of say that like you actually got to the point where that water helped you,
Matt
so
realized it was not ironic.
But then I was like, hang on a second. Why do we not have a sound for energy shield breaking? Like, how have we gotten to this point and we don't have a sound like that? And then I actually looked into it, and it turns out we do have that sound.
Jonathan
There is
failing
something
the
there. It's just
people.
that because it happens when you get hit, and because when you're getting hit, there's a lot of sound going on. There's immediately this like the thing where effectively you don't.
He gets drowned out.
Here, and what we really need is a sound that's more like when you get heavy stunned. There's like, not when you get heavy stun. When you heavy stun a monster, there's like sort of sound that's quite distinctive that kind of cuts through everything that you sort of like learn to hear. I really need to sound like that when your energy shield breaks, because that's a moment when you should be thinking, oh shit, like you need that moment. And I think that
unless you're CI.
we actually do need to lean into a little bit more of those kind of things. But like there's not like necessarily a realistic sound, but it needs to be a sound that can cut through all the other stuff that you're hearing, so that you just sort of know that you've hit that moment. And that's the kind of thing that can really make you appreciate defensive layers, is like just more of those cues. Now, I'm not sure how you do that for something like armor or like things like that. Like there's like evasion, even like
It's really
ideally
hard.
you would be able to feel when you had more evasion versus not, and right now you just kind of can't. But I do think that is something that you need to do to make those defenses be more appreciated, because they do work. It's just that you often don't appreciate that they do.
I have a few things on your build, by the way, which I honestly think your passive
Okay.
tree is 100% fine.
Right.
I don't even think it could be that much better. I think it's completely good. Your gear completely fine. And by the way, and like when I was looking
So
at your
it's not
rank,
with that bad of a
when
build.
you're clearing, you're quite tanky. It's appreciable. It's fine. And then so I was like, okay, the gear is good. The tree is fine.
But then again, what is Mark's definition of good?
Like, you know, on a level that honestly shouldn't
he's
be
an aura
necessary.
bot.
And I was like, you are defensive. Like
So
when
he
you're
probably
playing,
just thinks
your
as long as you
character's
have-
not just like, you know,
As
up
long-
and down in life
long
all
as you
the
can take
time.
this
It's
aura,
quite
you're fine.
consistently, you know, if you're on full life, and it's certainly you have decent armor, decent energy shield. It's working. But yeah, it was interesting. I think you said to
5
me,
DPM.
because I was like telling you, I was like, you're fine. What are you talking about? And then you were like, what did you say? You said, what? Okay, if it's not my character, what do I have to change as a person in order to be able to do this
I mean, that's
content?
huge.
I was like, wow. But honestly, the biggest flaw you had was just your support gems. That was the biggest actual issue. But it's like you didn't do the wrong thing there. You just didn't do necessarily the right thing. Like you just did what was intuitive. And so there's some highlighting there, and you know, it's like because you said you followed the recommended supports for Shred.
So that is
And
the
I
thing
was
that I
like-
was doing specifically, yes.
And I was like, you did, but you were also the developer that said what they were. So you could have made, there's a question of did you make a wrong decision as a player, or did you make a wrong decision as a developer? And there's an interesting thing there of trying to assess which of those went wrong. And so then it's kind of like, okay, sure, those fixed and made it a bit better, but we did make a pretty hyperactive set of changes based on your play experience. Because when you were like, yeah, what do I have to change as a person? It's kind of like, well, honestly, you should be able to kill this boss. You should be able to get further, and this is too hard and isn't working correctly. And then there were a number of encounters, and it was actually quite interesting to just because I just watched you play for like 4 hours, and I was just like writing stuff down the whole time of just like, you know, because it is true. I don't have a relatable personal experience to what was happening there. Like I would normally be in a substantially better position to just have a bit either via more planning or again, I don't put in the wrong supports. I even when you were like, what are the right supports? I was like, oh, just search for this. And then it's like, how do you even know to look for that if you didn't know to look for that? So there's a bunch of interesting things here where, yeah, it identifies...
That's definitely a good experiment for them.
You are watching someone with a bad build, be it an in-game or IRL one, I guess. I can't
Holy, the wine is going down.
You kind of like...
I was downing this.
You know, what's actually wrong here?
Not gonna
And
take
it is
long.
true that it is quite hard to relate with, especially on like a personal level. So I'm quite good at when I observe. I'm quite good at seeing things that people often don't see, as well. And but yeah, it's been a really fun amount of like really looking at the early in game, really iterating on it. And I've had the same from a bunch of other developers as well, a bunch of the designers that Jonathan's also been talking to, where they're just like, it's been really fun just getting like, here's the list of problems every day
Well, finally made a damn
that
game.
Jonathan's run into, and then just iterating on them. And they're all so fundamental. They're all like, and I think this is something I want to stress and goes back to, it's something I mentioned to Ziggy as well with respect to like even just the defenses on the tree. Like there's just fundamentally missing things. Like, and this is a really important thing that, you know, I would say the end game not having goals is a fundamental problem. But I would go as far as the things like the balance go, the basics, the life, the poise, all that thing that Jonathan was talking about. We honestly haven't hit the fundamentals, and this is why, and in the monster density, and this is why it's really important between 050 and release, that we're not like adding, and we can actually go, okay, like we need to just make the baseline actually the quality it needs to be. And it's really, really hard to do that when you're making what we just did for 050. Like, you'll notice I don't want to say it's void of balance changes, of course, but it doesn't reach the standards of probably what people expect. And that's just because we were making all the new stuff. So hopefully now with everything, filled everything in, we actually get to go back and assess all of those fundamentals about...
Remember those patch notes we just got?
Passive tree. They're like,
are you ready to see the updates that are coming out in the next week? Now that they have time.
Come together of what makes a build
I
crazy.
expect it to be
really
rough.
that baseline.
That's why I'm not really
life of
saying
monsters,
anything.
damage of monsters, defenses of the player, and via the
Just a quick
passive
question.
tree,
Minion
the
changes
base
here and they
items,
wanted to
I
watch a
honestly
video on
think
that. Minions got
the base items of like say weapons aren't in a good enough spot.
companions
There's just bunch
got
of
a
implicits
lot of
that
support.
a weapon has an
So
implicit
companions are
if
in a
its
good
damage is
spot.
penalized, and the implicit is just trash.
Other minions were
It's
not
just, again, it's not
nerfed,
interesting, it's not
and we
fun,
have
it's just a bad weapon to find. And there's
some of
still a
them
bunch
got some
that,
really
and
good
it's just,
things going for them,
that's
like Rivas.
our
Rivas
lowest
8
level
good.
thing. Like everything else is built on top of that, and we haven't even got that base thing entirely perfect yet. So we have a bit of a plan, and we're going to go a bit feral with it. But I really just want to make sure, yeah, we're addressing all of these fundamentals now that we've got, which hopefully will make, you know, I don't think Jonathan should have to change much. I think the balance is just wrong, and I think that he should be able to kill that boss, and now he can. By the way, just to be clear, we did address that immediately. But it's like it seems like such an obvious thing, and it's like, how the hell have you not done this? But just because we've been producing so much content, like, and I don't even just mean for this patch, it's just been like crazy developing this game, the amount of stuff we're making. It's really hard to actually go, okay, now let's get it to the right spot. And a lot of people compare it to a lot of people compare it to PoE1, and they're like, yeah, but the PoE1 tree has this and this and this, and you know, stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but you know, I remember iterating on that for like 8 years personally. So it's like, you know, there's a bit of a time disparity here, like with our new philosophy. So we will be able to do it. We'll be able to do it pretty quickly. I'm not saying it's going to take 8 years, and we'll be able to get a hell of a way towards perfection, I would say.
Love to hear it.
It's ever perfect, as I like to say. But yeah, it's going to be bloody nice now that we've got this absolute behemoth of a patch, you know, coming to a conclusion. Not to say there won't still be stuff to fix around that, but that's part of that as well, to be able to actually go and look at, okay, let's figure out what kind of person, what kind of build, what kind of character actually should be able to get to what point of the end game, the campaign, etc. Like, what are the mistakes people are making? What is the flaws in their builds that shouldn't be flaws? Be it the recommended gems, be it the base skill damage, be it itemization, passive tree, everything, and just getting all of that as refined as possible. Which is exciting, by the way, because I find that stuff to be some of the more fun work. So it's kind of...
What's Go on, Gazi.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, listening to the both of you talking about this, it's obviously we're expecting this, but it really sounds like there's a ton of minor adjustments from the veterans players' perspective, but might be large changes for newer players' perspective that is coming to the 0.5 update that is not necessarily in the patch notes. Something I was really curious about to hear from the both of you was, what portion of this update do you guys predict to like make the largest beneficial impact for the player's experience? Because we heard from Jonathan talking about his situation there. Are we talking about changes in that sense, in the campaign playthrough, or are we talking about the Infinite Atlas? I just want to hear your thoughts on your prediction on the most beneficial impact for new player experience.
If you're talking about just for new players, I definitely think that it's going to be the sort of early in-game, like monster density, like things around there, like, and like late campaign, early in-game monster density, things like, you know, just, I mean, we were just talking today. Okay, so here's another random example of a thing that we want to try and do. I hope it'll get an 050, but I think it's going to be a big deal, which is that, like, there's another one of those realizations of, like, you know, I'm fighting a rare, it's got like a shit ton of mods on it, and I'm like, if I just stop like fighting for a second here, just like put on God mode and just watch this rare, like, I'm just going to look at what this rare is doing right now, if I'm not killing it. And there is a fucking endless amount of bullshit spewing forth from this rare. And I'm like, there actually is no capability to have any gameplay, like counterplay to this thing beyond just tanking it. You know what I mean? I'm
yes, what I've been saying.
So much crap coming out of this thing that, like, effectively my defenses have to be good enough, and there's really nothing else that I would be able to do about it.
Wait, stood up for a sec. What did he say?
And like his essence monsters in particular, I believe it was an essence.
He was talking about how he was fighting a rare, and he just, for a second, he just put himself on Godwood to see what exactly was happening with the rare, to see, and what he noticed was there's so much BS that comes out of the monster that the only defense is to just tank it, in the sense of, like, you know, there's no, yes, like, there's no, oh, I'm reacting to this move the rare is doing, it's just shit is happening
you add one of those
on non-stop, that kind of, it's that kind of thing.
Of the others, and that's like a thing we want to do, effectively make it so that the more of those that go on the monster, like, it doesn't. It's not that it like that it casts the same number of them as what it normally casts. Like we would have to increase, but it shouldn't increase where like you get 2 mods and now it's double the number of those effects, because otherwise there's just no ability to get any kind of counterplay with that. So we need some kind of thing that can control, like when lots of mods go on a rare, that it doesn't just turn into an absolute shit fest of like random spam. And so like
Yeah.
this is
And he
another
give
kind
you
of one of
example
those
of
like
essence
fundamental
monsters.
things to identify. And like we'll try to get that info 050, but I think that one of those things those are the kind of things that I really do think affect new players, because there is a level beyond which of like screen like covering crap that you just kind of give up on it, and now it's like, yeah, it really is just a build check. Like I'm not going to dodge this, I'm not going to actually try to even do that. It's like, so now my build just has to be able to tank it, or that's it. So that's once again another thing that another one of those fundamentals like that.
This came up a while back. This came up a while back for essences more so because again, it is a thing. Then veteran players are noticing a lot more where they're like, okay, you especially that Silent Caverns, I think it is unique map, right? And you're like, okay, there's now, you know, this one monster with 6 essences, and we're like, yeah, what we should be doing is implementing like a system where there's like, you know, one or two of the daemons, as Jonathan explained it, one of the kind of more hidden skills that are outputting the effects that are going on. They occur on a specific cooldown, and the more there are, the longer the cooldown is, and there's some whole system for it that we wanted to do. But like that was an example of where we checked the, you know, obviously the more extreme case. But then if you actually just come back to fundamental monster mods, like it's even a monster that only has 4 mods, for example, and 3 of them happen to be something where it's like just spamming a bunch of stuff. And the other thing is each of those just has their own independent cooldown. And so the monster, and let's say it happened to get 3, and each of those cooldowns is say 10 seconds. Well, it's going to do all 3 and then wait 10 seconds and then do all 3 and then wait 10 seconds. So that gets a different thing where at least you get the wait. But if it happened to be that, let's say there was a 5, a 10, and a 15-second cooldown, or some numbers like that, it's all of a sudden now it's like just skill, and then you're like, okay, well, when do I actually get to DPS? So it kind of varies a bit, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's also just resulting in a bunch of just spam all over your screen. And it gets so much worse at the high end, like to the point where, and this is part of what contributes to the, like, as you said, you just need to be able to survive it. And if you can't, and it results in these things where like I died to something, there was effects everywhere, and now I'm dead. Something happened. But honestly, again, that's just because
Like within all those effects, there's a DD from Ritual that you didn't see.
So obviously, right? And so all of a sudden now you've just,
and now your one map, your one portal map is gone.
You know, flashbangs going on your screen, and hopefully you survive. So it is a problem, but it's one of those things where it's really easy to look at the extreme cases and just be like, obviously we need to address this. And when we come up with some plan, and then you kind of go, well, it is affecting only the top end, you know, so is it as important as these other fundamentals? But then you actually go, okay, let's look at this problem from not the top end perspective, and you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely still a problem. And so that's a good one to get highlighted, and then you can address it, and it addresses. It turns out it just fixes it for everyone. So yeah, we're hoping to even do something about that this week specifically.
On the same topic of that is like, here's another one I just happened to notice recently as well, which was that like I was playing some maps and I realized, hang on a minute, I feel like in the last 2 maps I've run, every single one of them had a mod in it that caused curses to be going off.
Yes.
And I'm like, so that just means that your entire experience of the map, even when you're not fighting anything, there's just like circles appearing on the screen all the time. I'm like, and so I asked someone about this, and they were like, oh yeah, the reason for that is because there's a bunch of curse mods, but because they're all weighted the same as all the normal mods, it means that like the overall weighting of just any curse, if you look at it that way, is
like we're dodging everything every map.
And so the answer is just divide all the weightings of those curse mods, so they're just less
when
common,
you're in the
right?
slow build and you get hit by
like,
temp change, you
oh god, I hate temp change so fucking much.
So
I stopped running temp change at some point. It's like, fuck that.
Lots of little things like that, but I don't know why it's like it can be hard to notice that stuff unless you're really thinking about it. And like when you're going in with the mindset of like, okay, like what are we doing to reduce the spam? Like when you're actually playing, you have to, and it takes a little while of appreciating it as you go through of like, what is actually the cause here? Yeah, like there's a lot of things we can still do. So yeah, that is a bit of a kick that we're on right now, is the like try to reduce the the spam a little bit. Ideally without sort of hurting the top end cases where people want to make sure that they're getting the monster hits that they need and all that kind of stuff like that. But I think that part of what also brought it to a head a little bit is that because the tree adds so much now, we have to be really careful with the with the stuff because it can get out of hand pretty quick. So that's something that we have to care a lot about.
We've definitely had to reevaluate what our base levels are versus what our without like really going, okay, we just want everything to be meh. Like we still want the excitement, you still want the thing where you can spec into all these things and create these crazy situations to happen. But yeah, with the tree being a lot larger and the Atlas Master system and all of this, it's like we've certainly had to reevaluate the base simply for that, just from a like, okay, if we had just kept the same base and added all that, then all the investment would end up having to be quite low, because you just can't have every single map being an absolute clusterfuck. So, reevaluating all of that.
How do you
also
reduce the
helping, honestly, with
spam
that just onboarding into maps
without making the
thing
maps
anyway,
feel
where you're not just like
empty?
overwhelmed with like 8 things going on that you haven't even seen before. Like, what the fuck is even happening? Like, what's this?
This is going to be
thing
an
here,
interesting
this
problem
blue
to
thing
see
here,
them
and this
fix,
green
because
thing here and this yellow thing here, and
This
you're
is
like,
still the first
you
question.
don't even know what they are because nothing's told you what they are
what's that?
necessarily. So, yeah,
There's
I
still
think
2 questions in.
going back to your actual
Yeah.
question, you have like the onboarding for new players, even though it's weird.
I mean,
think
I love to
about
see
new
it.
players in the case of Endgame, but our hope is that they can get there. What I did see, and I've seen this with personal friends, even my brother and stuff, they got to Endgame. He's like, I don't know, I just ran a couple maps and now I'm done. I guess I'm finished. So I'm hoping that they get there and stick it out and actually have that goal. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't immediately run into brick walls, and can actually play through and finish the campaign, finish the end game as if it was just a continuance of the campaign, honestly. Like, it kind of doesn't necessarily need to be a like break in the story necessarily so much, where they can just be perceived as the same thing ultimately.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because one of the topics we wanted to cover in this interview was about the Fortress and Endgame Atlas. And one of the initial questions we had there is to talk about the Fortress. You talk about onboarding people to the Endgame, right? And the Fortress itself, it has its areas inside the Fortress. They're sort of pre-juiced, and the Fortress is required for gaining your Atlas passive points, and also has some pinnacle bosses.
I feel like that Fortress is going to be us because of traps.
Players to head to first.
Like, I feel like there are traps in there, and I feel like that's going to be us.
Entirety, then go out to engage with league mechanics, or is it intended to be your sort of first endgame focused type of content, but you can deviate away from it? And the follow-up to this would be, is this supposed to be an extension of the campaign to be sort of a tutorial of the endgame before people are expected to go to the Infinite Atlas?
Well, there's a few things going on here. So number one is I do expect that the Fortress is going to be the first in-game system that people engage with. It doesn't have to be, but I think that it will be. And that's seen by the fact that it's the first quest we give you, and it's kind of like the largest visible thing going on, right? So the very first thing you get is like there's a tower that pops out, and Duyani's like, hey, go do that, and that's like 3 maps away, right? So like it's guaranteed the tower is the 3rd map that you do, assuming that you head in that direction. And then it's like 3 or maybe 4 maps more than that until you get into the Fortress. So like it's pretty, like we're onboarding you pretty easily into that thing. So I suspect a lot of people do that. And yes, the pre-juicing is definitely a nice thing, because the nice thing we get to do there, by the way, is that so in the Fortress, like it's not most of the maps, but it's like a very large percentage of them, because you can pick where you go. Like you effectively get like pre-juiced maps. But the nice thing is it's like 1 mechanic at a time. Like when you get those mechanics in those maps, it's like because it's at the start, you have an allocated Atlas point, so it's not happening all the time. You get a situation, you get to experience the feeling of like, okay, here's what it would be like if I like had a bunch of wisps, and here's what it would be like if I had a bunch of strongbox and that kind of thing. You get to sort of experience that right away. But yeah, as I said, 1 at a time. And then as you go through the Fortress, you're obviously adding more of that content that once you've experienced it to your maps, you get to kind of like juice it more yourself. And so by the time you're done with the Fortress, you're going to have like, the not necessarily, probably not the full Atlas tree, because I don't think that you're going to just grind out every single map in the Fortress. I expect the much more likely situation is that you pick a path through the Fortress that gets you to the quest goals. You allocate, I don't know what it would be. Like, what do you reckon the percentage of the tree you'd probably allocate, Mark? And by the time you've leveled up and everything, it might be like a 1/3 of it or something, like maybe. Like something along those lines. You probably get like a 1/3 of it if as you make your way to the maybe half. It sort of depends on like how long it's taking you to get up those map tiers and so on. But I'd say a third is kind of
half was more what I was thinking for sure.
yeah. But yeah, like sort of half to a third, the third half, something like that of the tree before we get to that. And so by the time you got to that point, you're sort of ready to be able to go and do all the other objectives. And I sort of suspect that that'll be like most people's general experience. And that's not supposed to take too long. It's supposed to be, like a relatively like achievable goal. And yes, it is effectively tutorializing the end game as well, because then you've got the quest version of the pinnacle.
Assuming what?
Just hard. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy,
not going to be
but
that hard.
definitely not.
Oh, the
but
version?
it's like it's something that we
you mean the
would expect
fortress?
someone to be able to do.
The boss,
if they're,
yeah.
taking it somewhat reasonably. So yeah, like it is something that probably would expect to do. Now you can go and do the other quest lines if you want, but the one thing you will run into is that you're not allowed to do I believe the lieutenant's whatever this kind of like the pre-pinnacle is before you've got to map tier it's 11, I believe. Mark, is that correct? Like map tier 11 is what you have to do with that?
Generally 14.
14, yes, that's right. So you map to 14. So what that means is that if you do that as your first one and you're a new player, so you don't know how to go through the tiers quickly, it's possible that you'd run into that bottleneck at some point if you just did one of the league trees first, and then have to sort of tear up before you went on. Whereas if you do the fortress first, you're obviously going to be T16, or T15 probably, I suppose, if you're not doing the corrupted stuff, and so therefore you're going to have the maps that you need to be able to do those other ones like all the way to the end very quickly. So yeah, I'd expect most people to do fortress first in most cases.
Part of the reason for that T14 thing, because I suspect it'll come up and people might be like, why is this gated behind a level? Like, why is it? Like, let me just do it. Is that
Because of difficulty.
We don't want the pinnacles. So obviously, there's a quest version and a non-quest version, right? The non-quest is harder. That's what you do afterwards. Drops Deadlock, right? That's the quest version.
Imagine if the quest version is sending you home on repeat. What would a non-quest version look like?
Is still a fixed level, and we wanted all the pinnacles to be at the pinnacle, right? Around tier 15, tier 16 difficulty, right? So you'll generally find they're about level 79, whereas the farm ones are like level 82. Now that doesn't mean a lot, but it's just, obviously item level of drops, and then obviously, whatever custom difficulty we want to do at those level thresholds. However, because often the pinnacles are not using traditional waystones, as in they don't have a tier on them. We have to gate the thing directly before them to be the difficulty that is the closest. Like, for example, let's say you got to tier 11 maps, you killed, say, Tulanesh, and then you got the Twisted Domain key, and so tier 11, and then you're jumping to level 79. Like, the difficulty jump is just going to be insane. And so it's like, well, I'd rather gate that boss to be literally just one step before the Twisted Domain, so that if you do it, you earn the key, you're probably ready to do it. Like, you don't have to like now go and waste your key and go, okay, that was impossible. What the hell was that? So
makes sense.
People will often probably run into this block, but it is important that when they kill those penultimate bosses, that they are probably ready then. That is their proving grounds to say, okay, you can try the pinnacle now. And if we have those be too early, yeah, people are just going to be like, okay, what the hell? This difficulty jump is out of control. And then they'll fail. They have to go do a bunch of stuff. It'll feel bad. Or they might just be like, nice balance, thumbs down. So, it's... I think that the lesser evil was definitely to have the gate. There are a few other ways to do this, but the other thing I didn't want to do is have it that let's say you did them in a different order. Like let's say it was tier 11, as we said, the restriction on Tulanesh. If you then, and let's say Twisted Domain was T12 difficulty instead of the 14 and 15 that I have them at. If you did it breach first and did it naturally, it'd probably feel fine. Now, if you go and do the whole fortress, you get all the way to T15, you kill the Arbiter, you do that whole quest line, and then you go and do breach. Well, now it's just tier 11 and tier 12, and you're going to be like, well, that was a joke. What the hell was that? And so that also doesn't feel good. And then the farm version's obviously high level. And so I think that's also bad as well. So it's just giving a bit of background as to why I want to make sure the pen ultimates are T14 and the ultimates are around, and the quest ultimates are 15, and then the farm ones are a few levels higher. And there are, I understand there's a few different things you could do here. You could be like, oh, as you complete each, the other ones level up. And as you know, there's all this kind of stuff, but I don't really love doing that. I think it's quite fun to just get to that boss. You get to literally the pre-capstone of the league, and it's like, all right, now get to tier 14, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. When I come back, I'm gonna come back and mess it up and hopefully get my loot or whatever, or just fail, whatever the case is. But hopefully you get to kill it and get your loot. But yeah, I don't know. It worked out, but yeah, I understand. It's been a bit of a conversation in the office where people have wanted it one way over the other and been a bit back and forth about it, and had the levels based on the distance from the start and all kinds. And I just think that what we've landed on is certainly the best.
Can we get a shirt?
Have of all. But I suspect it's a question that's going to come up.
Wait, hold up. Why is my
useful.
chat not refreshing?
Did you guys do any changes
on OBS? I just realized.
Levels of the waystones, because I know in one video, there was a video I was watching where a guy was mapping out and saying like the earlier tiers of the waystones are like higher levels now, etc. Like, how do you feel about the earlier level curve of the waystones? Has that been fundamentally changed though? Or you guys?
He literally baited him to say 6-7.
Who did
in level 65, then 6 and 7 and 8?
Yeah, exactly.
Currently the same.
He baited him to say 6-7.
There was some changes to monster effectiveness that happened.
I mean, again, we've done balance all over the place. So it's like, what do the numbers even mean is kind of a question in itself, like, in general, I think a common problem people had is that the difficulty difference between the maps wasn't significant enough. And so it was like, you just kind of just climb and climb and climb. We've done some changes around that. We went very extreme at the start of this development cycle, and we've now come back on it substantially. Not to say there isn't still a larger difference than what's currently on live. So yes, the difference between a T1 and 15 on live is less than the difference that will be in 050. As in, it gets harder as you climb the progression. That being said, a lot of that was also done through, because we've changed what the map mods give.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
So they have,
hold.
I can't remember what the exact bonuses are now, but for example, a subset of the mods do grant effectiveness.
Okay.
Quantum life and XP. And then, but what we tried to do is that every single mod on a map was something you actually were like, oh yeah, okay, this is rewarding. I want this. Whereas there were some that were a bit hit and miss before, for sure. So we've tried to do that, and so we've changed some of the outcomes given. But just now, by rolling mods on maps, you'll notice that things, because of the effectiveness, for example,
there was no brick wall.
Monsters can get harder, but at least then you can kind of control it, which is better than just, okay, we've moved the brick wall from here to here or whatever. It's like not a great change that we made, but yeah, I would say it's not too far off what it was at a baseline level. But again, that's where also then ideally, when we do have things like difficulty curves like that, it's in the player's control, not like, otherwise, again, like let's say Jonathan's build here, he's like, okay, I'm struggling in very early waystones, but and I raised the question to him, I was like, okay, but let's say we did this change here. It sounds good. You'll get to your tier 3 or 4, maybe 5 maps, but then you're going to hit a wall there as well, right? So it's about making sure that we do changes that aren't just like, okay, you're going to quit 30 minutes later instead. Or you'll quit the next day instead of the day before. Technically, that's better, I guess, but it's still bad. So but it's I know that there's a lot of people who really wanted it to be that the difference in difficulty in tiers is quite significant. There's a bunch of people who don't necessarily. We tried it; it wasn't good. So having it more as you get more of the tree, more multi-choice, you get the Atlas Masters, and that being fully agency controlled is definitely a better world than just inherently every tier is significantly harder than the last, or some sort of more extreme jump like that. So anyway, try it and test it.
Let's talk about the Atlas Masters then, because I'm very curious. There's two fundamental changes with the Atlas tree currently coming up in 0.5, one of which is you can basically max out the entirety of the tree. I know there's notables you can change, and that's kind of how you're doing the player agency on the Atlas tree, but also the Atlas Masters are the other, like, fundamentally new, and you call them, like, ascendancy classes for the Atlas tree, which is kind of an interesting way to put it. So what are the Masters enabling you to be able to do that was something you couldn't, like, be able to put on the tree? Like, why Atlas Masters, and what or is that going to help you with?
So there's a couple of things going on here. So I think one of the things that's really important to talk about with that is that why the old tree was a concern. So effectively, the old tree wasn't allowed to have anything on it that could affect content that you could see that you were going to get in advance. And the reason for that is because you'd just respec before you do it, and then be having to respec all the time. And we wanted to get to a situation where you know, like you didn't feel like you needed to make those changes all the time. And yeah, the only way we'd able to do it before was to effectively water down the bonuses we could give. And then originally what we were saying is that we want to have it so that the customization that there is doesn't require like so much cognitive overload in terms of doing it. Like what I mean by that is like, okay, so the important thing to respec was like, you know, like various more sort of keystone-y type things. Like there's a bunch of other bonuses, but like the stuff that kind of defines like what is interesting about what you're doing is really more about those keystone things. So like if we can bring all those key choices together in one place, it's going to feel a lot less threatening when you want to change them. And so now you've got like effectively like a nice little menu on the side of the thing of like what one of these do you want to be playing under.
I know they're going. I can
And then
listen to
after
these
that,
guys
we were
talk
like, okay,
forever, man.
we want to do some kind of thing where like in PoE1, you've got like the 3 specs that you can do for
So
your Atlas tree.
does each master have its own spec, or do you have to manually go into the tree?
Like why I don't sort of like that kind of stuff.
They each have their own spec.
Like,
Okay.
It feels
You
like
only
it's adding
pick
even
one,
more
right?
complexity.
Yes.
So then I was like, okay,
But do they have the tree and the options you pick? Are they locked to per master basis? Does that make sense?
Feels like it adds complexity, but instead
That shit could call. I mean, does it matter if we get
the
everything
idea of
later
like, what
anyway?
if each spec
It
was
does,
like
because if you
a
switch from
character,
boss killing to the other one, then you have to manually go to your tree and select certain
it
ones.
feels like when you're changing between them that you
Do you get?
it's just a more interesting and sort of more thematic way of achieving something like that, and I think that's actually worked pretty well.
Changing strat like that.
And then funnily enough, it kind of ended up feeling a little bit like
That's because of the way it was before.
one, I can't remember what the name of
Now we have every single point on the tree.
thing when you run
I could see them changing that and putting it in mid
Um,
league. So
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I mean, if it isn't,
it just has
they'll feel bad and will bitch about it, and they'll probably change it.
gonna be a whole lot of bitching. On Friday.
Oh, 100%. But definitely, this weekend is going to be bitch weekend. You know, it's like this weekend we're going to complain our asses off.
When I'm running this content, this is the master that I'm using.
Like that's just genuinely what I'm expecting.
Kind of like decide those kind of choices up front, and then it's just like one click to change between them. So now then, yeah, we put all those bonuses of like, and even in this case, we're even experimenting with having bonuses that are going to apply to the league that we're actually running right now. So there are bonuses that apply to the Runes of Alder on there, and like we feel like it's okay to do that when it's like the sort of separate thing that's on the these masters, where we didn't feel like we were comfortable doing that on the Atlas tree before. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's a different context of delivery that allows us to do a certain thing. And in this case, the particular thing that it is yeah, like content that responds to like things that respond to things that you can see that are going to happen. So like I see that I'm going to run this type of map. It's going to have this type of content in. I select this master, which is going to synergize with that.
The league mechanic trees. When I was watching the review, one bit of confusion. Like I know. I at least myself was confused about this, so I was hoping some clarity. Are you actually able to max out the entirety of each one of the league trees? Okay, so what was the decision behind we want to make it where you max out the trees and entirely also in the league mechanic portion of it?
So I mean, it's the same exact argument for the regular tree, right? Like it's we just think that it's important that for the types of bonuses that we can do, it means that we can do a bonus like, you know, now when you kill this boss,
do you want higher logbook chance, or do you want higher currency drops or something?
Stuff like that you just wouldn't be able to do normally, because you'd be like
both is good.
When I'm doing this content,
We'll see.
If you allocate all of them, we could just do those types of bonuses. And I think it just.
I mean, I sent you one breeding program.
Once again, you've got the mod.
Oh, such a wild day.
Wait, what?
You didn't see it? I sent you.
Like that.
I sent it like, where was it? Where they posted the breach word.
For example, there, by the way, like you can have.
I'll resend it to you. I'll find it.
That specifically
and I'll show chat.
And or drops of the pinnacle boss for that league. You can have one that applies to the lieutenant. You can have, and so yes, before obviously you'd have to then go, I'm about to do the pinnacle boss, or you save up a bunch of keys and then you allocate those nodes and then run them all, and then you unallocate those nodes when you go back to farming. So even with that, but the different variety of bonuses we're allowed to have invested into, you know, it feels pretty good. It feels pretty.
It's literally the name of a breach.
Okay, I mean,
points.
There is the sense of ordering.
A breach of the breeding program. It's like, okay.
This now or this later. Obviously, you're generally not going to invest in the pinnacle boss when you're like, first starting out. Not that it's at the start of the tree anyway. And so yeah, you
question mark.
Regardless. And often in those cases, it's even blocked behind killing the pinnacle boss to start with, where it's like, okay, I can't allocate these until I kill the pinnacle for the first time. And then you can go and fill them in, and then when you do the farm, you can get the full loot. But it does create this just like really cool sense of progression of like you're just like really evolving the loot, and there kind of isn't really a wrong choice. You're not like so scared about whether or not you're allocating.
I think the best part about this change, honestly, is the fact that you can get all your points at once.
You can just do it with
like just all in one cluster.
Fear
that you can binge if you want to.
But there's still a little bit of that like thinking about the choice and the ordering and which way you're getting it, but it just feels so much less complicated and something you can just fuck up. Of course, that raised the concern, and Jonathan mentioned it, where you then lose your build per se. And this is something we've talked about a little bit, but like this is where the Atlas Master circles in. It's like, we need a system that is your build, but we need that to not be like 150 passives. It needs to be something quite clean like an Ascendancy class, hence kind of Atlas class. It's like, here's your end points you get on a quite small tree, and it's effectively like, okay, as he said, it's boiling down the actual key decisions of how things behave, like meta level decisions, as opposed to just like X% increased something. It's just like a little bit of thing. It's like very game changing, like enables a mechanic or disables another, gives you, as I said, things that reduce the number of revives you have but increase the loot. And it's like, oh, do I want to risk that? It's like much more meaningful decisions all over the Atlas Masters. And because we can have multiple, because you can turn them off and enable them at will, and because it's not like just giant tree of overwhelmingness, it's quite easy to go, okay, I understand what this is going to do. I understand I can try it. I can just turn it off. I don't need to have like multiple respec systems in order to do it, be it gold or some orb. And then I can just go and change it. And then maybe when I'm ready later, I'll turn it on again. But the other thing it allows, and I like this, which is, of course, it allows us to make new ones in the future. If we have new characters and new Atlas Masters, maybe we sub one out, add another, you never know how these things go. Maybe we do a thing where we, move what's on class A onto class B and some of B onto C, and, you create different combinations of the classes and what they specialize in. Obviously still remaining thematic, because that's a thing that we want to stay bound to. And so there's a lot more like flexibility here in terms of changing, removing, adding, doing a bunch of like cool stuff with just like creating new builds where you can create an entire new in-game meta just by mixing up those classes. And you haven't had to change this entire 600-point Atlas passive tree kind of level grade thing where you're like, okay, like we can create so many new metas with like five changes, and that's it. You just move this here, this here, this here, this here, this here, and it's like, oh, entire in-game meta changed. Now, that's if we want to do that. We don't have to, but that can be a cool level of shake-up that keeps in-game feeling way fresher and whatnot, and we haven't had to add an entire new system to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, on the topic of in-game meta and stuff like that, and the player agency control of the not just the Atlas Masters, but also the multi-choice nodes we have on the Atlas tree itself, is something you brought up. I believe it was you, Mark, on the Q&A with Siggy D. Was that something that you don't have in PoE 2, but you do have in PoE 1, is the ability to respond to market changes by targeting different types of drops. So like this is kind of in the topic of combating inflation, which has been mentioned, as well as price stabilization, where you can make those choices to, hey, this is lacking a supply in the market or whatever. And then you can choose to say, well, I'm going to do that farm. And then maybe the market changes and now the next mechanic is going to be the most lucrative, if you will. And one of the question is this one of your implementation to help combat your issues with rarity affecting currency and combating inflation in general? Or what's the take here?
It
Yeah.
is 100% good at that. And, well, yeah, go for it, Jonathan.
Well, I was going to basically say exactly that, right? Like we are trying to make it so that not only do you have things with the Atlas Masters, but you've also got things with the like which league you're focusing on. You know, like Ritual now being a much bigger source of uniques, for example. Yeah, if like you think, you know, like we do want the idea that if things are in the market.
Surely we drop mid block from Ritual, right?
Off in a certain way, you feel like you can profit. Going to doing a different league.
Wasn't there something that we saw the reward was mid, but was it Ritual or was it Exped?
Get that. Now I don't know whether that's going to
I
happen.
feel like it was an Exped Island.
One of the things we noticed.
But I can't remember.
About PoE1
What did they say, by the way? I didn't catch that.
This kind of stuff. So
we're just talking about inflation and how
Like to go
adding mechanics and how adding mechanics makes it so you can react to the economy,
and I don't actually know if
and which is what something Jonathan said in the previous interview.
But like, let's just say Ritual gives uniques, which yes, we've made that change. And let's just say that there was a master
So you're talking about
somehow an occult, or let's say a multi-choice, and it just said all the uniques offered by Ritual are now currency. And you could, with a click of a button, go click, all right, now I run rituals and I'm just getting currency instead of uniques.
Holy.
Not to say that's necessarily a thing, I can't remember. But that's the level of thing where it's like, well, why not allow someone to change that? Now, one might be quantifiably better than the other, but that's somewhat market dependent and somewhat what you need for your gear, for your build, your character, and whatnot. But that is a level of a literal just click one button, click another button. Like if that's a thing you want to do, that we will now be able to do with this, where you can completely transform what you're farming by just the click of a button. And you can do that for many of the different leagues where you're like, okay, well, I want to target this instead of that, or I want to specifically turn off A and B because C gives.
I mean, I like the idea of this. I just worry about having too many things to click / remember to click when you want to change stuff, you know, before you end up breaking yourself like, oh, all uniques drop as currency in Ritual, but then you click somewhere else that you drop no unique, so now you're just wasting the point, you know.
Those who care about it to be dynamically responding their builds to the economy, which I know a lot of people care about, myself included, right? That's what you're going to do. So what you have as a day one build might not be your day two build, might not be your day three build, entirely just due to I want to make the most amount of wealth from an economical standpoint, as opposed to necessarily like what's best for your character, because I understand getting wealthy is often what's best for your character. So, you know, it will happen, almost certainly. And it's not going to take a whole bunch of gold and unshaping orbs and everything to do it, so that's good.
That's a good sign.
So respects are free?
I think it was in the patch notes. You guys said like Exceptionos.
Oh, that's nice.
Green orbs are on the Atlas tree now as well, correct?
Yeah, it's also in patch notes.
One more example.
The farming landscape is going to be
which I actually, obviously
so different
to some degree. But what it's also allowing you to do is be exposed to it, the fact that it exists.
The one factory knobs might just be insane money because it's locked behind the tree.
What the hell is that? And you can click the keyword and you're like, oh, I see what this is. That's cool. So you're like, oh.
Bro, fuck the league mechanic.
You know, like you now know those mechanics just because the tree tells you about.
Why? What did the league mechanic do to you?
One more question about the Atlas.
I'm saying Expedition Monster says the next chain won't explode till you destroy.
Kind of one of my
Y'all are trolling with that.
When did they say that?
They did in the patch notes.
Map bosses. It's not really.
Your next chain of Expedition won't explode till you've killed a certain amount of monsters in the chain before it.
Holy.
Think about the islands, Taconic.
Unique map.
Think about the amount of logbooks we ran last league.
I
Imagine
know.
it worked that way.
That into a potential strategy.
Holy.
Should ideally be one.
It should to some degree, for sure.
Guy,
I mean, it depends
I'm
if you
disparaging.
think of it as the map boss versus, say,
I could
I
tell.
would say an example is the summoning circles, being able to invest in that and do stuff with that is a way of getting more boss fights. I understand it's not the map boss. There are definitely ways to. Well, I guess you got the Overseer's tablet, of course, which is a way of trying to be more boss centric. I get it's not quite the same as what you're mentioning, which is more just like fighting a bunch of ruckus at the same time. But it's something that we're trying. There's a little bit of like, okay, and Jonathan said this to me literally today, which is that fighting multiple bosses at once is almost always worse than fighting one at a time. Like you just lose that cohesion, you lose that combat feel. Now it can be, you can have a twin
I agree.
designed and they're a bit tag teamy and all that, but it often isn't good to just spawn a bunch of bosses on you all at the same time, because it just implies it's like one of that same thing again, where now you just have to have the defenses to not insta die because you can't tell what's happening. So adding more bosses is something that summoning circle mechanic tries to do, and there are other ways to do that for sure.
I mean, wasn't there something ritual? Didn't they literally make it so the ritual quests you're getting more bosses on every subsequent ritual in the chain?
He just said it. He's just saying it.
Okay.
He's saying it right now.
The combat just goes out the window.
Which we do have in the Rite of the Nameless, but
yeah,
Rite of the Nameless, we do offset them from spawning. Like they don't all just suddenly spawn to start.
Yeah, it's still
so, like,
staggered.
they spawn. They're not like one at a time, but they do stagger so that. Like,
I mean, I think I'm delayed from you.
First, and then before the next one. And so ideally, it's kind of like, you know, like it's a bit of it's a tough fight, but you're not you know, just it's not just like 5 bosses enter a room with you.
Okay, that is better.
A bit of work to still do on getting ritual combat to be a bit better, right? Like it is one of
ritual spawning in certain areas is fucking ass. Remember that water map? There's like a long road that goes around.
So that's still something we are going to work on, is getting that combat to be a bit better.
Still traumatized from 0.1 having to do it, and that's like
do between
what's the name of the map?
Release, but yes, in that context, definitely staggering them is the play, because yes, what the hell is fighting 5 bosses in? Not now just 5 bosses in the boss arena. You're talking about 5 bosses in this little circle with a bunch of rat tornadoes or something going around. You have no idea what's going on. So.
I'm just happy that they're actually paying attention to it, and you know,
all right, well, let's talk about
they're aware. Because that was my biggest concern going in. Like when I heard it sounded fun, but it sounded like it'll be ass to just get monkey slammed.
I saw that one coming. That was a bit of a surprise when I saw that one. So what was the thought process of coming to the conclusion that, okay, we need another defensive of some sort, and this time we're going to put it under life? Like that's pretty unique. So how'd you come to that point?
I think it maybe started. Did it start with the skills first or the ward first? I can't actually remember which way around it was, but I feel like it might have been the skills. And we were talking about like what resource could we consume. I mean, it came together in one conversation, but I'm trying to remember exactly like which way around it was. But the skills and the runic ward were definitely designed together. Like in terms of what that, like we sort of knew that we wanted something. So okay, for a while we've wanted to have. It's like you start with having it so that all of the skills are limited to weapon types, but then after that, you then break the rule and actually have the stuff that goes between the weapon types. And so we knew for a while we wanted to have, skills that can work across, so you can do some interesting stuff. You know, and it like expands the universe of what builds are possible by quite a lot. So it was just a question of like, what can the restriction be so that it's, you know, like to make it so that there's something there that we can have that, you know, still sort of limits it. Because we were talking about how if we're doing skills like this, we didn't believe that something like mana would actually necessarily work for the type of skills that we want to do, where it's like sort of unrestricted like that. So then we're like, okay, if we've got another resource and like we don't really want to do life, and then we talked about like, you know, do we make it like Vile skills where you've got like, you know, the soul thing? We kind of didn't like that either. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly how we ended up with Runic Ward as the description, but I did like the fact that you've got something that's a hybrid defense and offense, and you can kind of scale that depending on what you do. So yeah, that it ended up pretty well, and I'm enjoying playing with it as well. Like
I want to test some things, so I'm gonna leave it in the background.
So that's been pretty nice. So I'm a big fan of that. But ultimately, yeah, it came from the skills first, I believe, of like you wanted to have a new resource that can power something like that.
You know,
I honestly can't remember the conversation, but yeah, we started with like, well, Peri 1 has ward, and we're like talking about things that we could do that are of Kalgurin theming, and we ended up going, it was just like, we're not really satisfied with how it works. Like fundamentally, it's like very niche, it's very end game, it relies on all these uniques and mechanics to actually be good, and we need something that's fundamental to the campaign here, something that can help everyone. And then we went through all, like, you know, as we do, we just have our meetings of design rants, and we went through many iterations and somehow ended up with what we have. And I think it is a significant upgrade over what, you know, if we had just copy pasted from what was in Peri 1 there, it would have not been anywhere near as good. So, yeah, it's quite satisfied with how that ended up. But it is always hard to forget these frantic conversations we have where we're just like, it's honestly like sometimes it's 30 minutes and you have like 500 iterations, and sometimes it's several hours and you have like 3 iterations. But easier to remember those ones. This was one of those short and fast, snappy, ruckus conversations for sure. That ended up quite satisfying.
I am hoping that people find use for runic ward skills and like whatever build that they're doing. Like I think that probably will be the case. Like we've made quite a few. There's quite a few ones that are general enough as well, and a surprising number of minion ones. So I guess you'll be happy to hear about that, I guess. But yeah, there's quite a bit going on there. The one I'm using on my current build is
minion
like,
ones.
It looks simple. It's this thing where you called repulsion, where you it actually, I think when we did the live stream, it was a mark, but then we decided that we liked it as a curse better. So it's a curse that you apply to the monsters, and when they take a bit of damage, the curse gets removed and it does an explosion that pushes all the monsters away. And if you've got large monster density and you use it on a pack, like the monsters just get absolutely like when they just spread everywhere. Like it's honestly, it's quite fun. So I'm enjoying that one, and hopefully we don't need to nerf it because I'm enjoying it. But that's the one that I'm using at the moment. But yeah, there's quite a lot of interesting ones. And I suspect that what I'm hoping is that there might be some like ward only builds even at in-game, which I think will be interesting. Like we'll try and build one in the office, and maybe we'll even do a video on it to see if we can do like a ward only character just to see how that goes. But the skills are primarily designed to be used as sort of like extra things that you can use on your other builds as well.
One question about the league mechanic itself is I was re-listening to the Ziggy D Q&A while I was prepping, and Mark, you said that you thought you could get up to 22 rare mob modifiers potentially when paired with the expedition when doing the Rune of Aldor, right? So one of my questions for you is this kind of intended to be a strategy, sort of like, I don't know, like the Alva Temple, for instance, where it's like, okay, you can farm it for specifically what the drops are, but also like it can be a juicing mechanism where we're building this. So another way to play it is you do this actually just to juice the rare mobs themselves, and you're actually farming the mobs for the drops by adding more and more modifiers on.
That was the intention, yes, that both are a viable option. Now, the example I gave there is obviously the extreme.
Of course, yeah.
Like, you're not going to have that happen every time, for sure. But I do want it to be a strategy, for sure, especially now that the mods don't display all vertically down the screen. Those specific mods don't. There's just like a little line of runes under the monster's life bars. And yeah, but my hope is that there is a strategy at endgame. Obviously, it's a relatively high-end strategy. Where once you are using logbooks and doing those grand expeditions, as we've called them. I don't know if there's an official name yet, but that's what I'll keep, the big old expeditions, that you are thinking, okay, on some of the remnants, you're like, okay, I want this chase reward. And on others where you're like, nah, I don't really care too much about, this and that. Like, I think I can push the monsters to be more valuable than the things that are offered by them. That you're actually thinking, okay, I'm going to try and pick the highest variety of different runes possible so that you pass them along and try and get as many remnants as possible in the dynamite chain. And then you're just like, okay, obviously each one then passes them on. So you're going to get every monster. The first one will be like, okay, pretty standard reward. Second one, a bit more. Third one, a bit more. Fourth one, a bit more. It's like, how long can this dynamite chain go? How many remnants can I get in it? And then you get to the point where you're just like, all right, like, what am I actually even fighting now? That's the hope, is that there are still people. And again, because you can control what the mods are.
I've solved the bug. Fuck that bug.
The bombs are, the order of them. You can control the difficulty and rewards entirely.
I understand it now.
One other thing we've changed with Expeditions.
I hate it so much.
I think has been a significant upgrade, though a semi-controversial internal one. But I think it's the same way, which is when you set a dynamite, you got your dynamite chain. When the first one goes off, you have to kill a certain number of the monsters before the dynamite will continue. So what would often happen is that a fast build, when doing the logbooks were before, or expeditions, you could just kill as you're going. And what some people did is they'll just detonate the entire chain and then just like clear backwards almost. And what some people would do is just clear with it, but effectively now they're not even seeing the bombs. Like the bombs have all detonated off screen and they're just following the chain of minimap icons, clearing everything. So now, like, it's like finish the encounter, next bomb goes off, finish the encounter, next bomb goes off, finish the encounter, next bomb. So you're following it, actually following it, seeing the detonation, seeing what's emerging, doing the fight, and you're following along. It just feels so much smoother. Though I know that
I like it way more, by the way. Like, it's way
it is. I agree. I think it's significantly better, but I know it immediately had people going, but I like to just detonate the whole thing and then just
I mean, I don't like the
play
change.
stages and then clear it all. Going backwards or whatever, and I was like, "Wow, too bad," because the
I don't like that
later
change
comms
still.
get IMO. But
I still don't like
it's
this change.
significantly better.
One,
Fair.
a couple other.
I
changes
definitely still don't
was
like this change.
10 runes instead of 8 in the patch notes, right? I think the review said it was like 8 cap, and I think in the patch notes it said it was upwards of.
What
10.
change is this?
I think the reason for that is
expert.
because there's a
Killed and
that
detonate
might
and
be
killed and
the
detonate and killed and detonate.
disclosing a hidden thing was supposed to be a hidden
Wow.
thing about how there's like a secret thing that
Because
you
we spoke about why. We were just talking about it in the interview.
The normal limit is 8.
You're dying on the hill?
Yeah, down on the hill.
There's like a bespoke 10 length and 9 length one. They're not like traditional. It's something
They
that when
said
you find
they felt it felt better, and in my head I'm like, I don't know how you felt it felt better. But okay.
So there's like, yeah, that was probably just my bad. Just like looking at the table, and be like, okay, here's the maximum one being 10. Like, there's probably a few things I accidentally disclosed in the patch notes that were intended to be hidden, but it's fine. We'll just we'll see if people.
By all means, we don't mind.
Yeah, spoil it here. How do you actually decide what you want to like leak or show in the review and what you don't? Like, I mean, that's got to be kind of a hard decision on, you want to keep enough hype going, right? Like, you want people to know some stuff's coming, be excited. Like, you got to tease Mage Blood's coming. You can't tease what it is, right? So, like, how do you decide what makes the cut on the teaser and what you want to be like discovered, like, the hidden ascendancies, for instance?
By the way, I've figured out the TLI bug.
I don't know, really. It's sort of hard to decide.
Yeah,
But, like, there are certain things. Well, okay, like a random example is like, not to, like in the patch notes we said there are 3 barracks rings. People are going to make some assumptions about what that might mean. Like there are things like that we're just like this, like in some ways, like it can be obvious to people what the hidden things are, but that can be its own form of excitement because now you're going to be asking, well, how does that work? What do you do? And the way that does work is quite hidden. So we'll have to see whether people do that. I know Jeff actually was saying to me, he's like, as a player, I would never find this. So hopefully people do actually end up discovering that. But all it takes is one, and then everyone will know. So there are secrets like that around. But yeah, I don't know. It's just
Interesting.
We want to make sure that there's just enough things where it feels like people have found something. And actually, there's that other whole system we didn't tell people about. Oh, I'm not even going to mention it. No, screw it.
Holy.
There's a whole bunch of like I would say there's more like
I don't even know what he's talking about.
You do know what I'm talking about. The one that's the most.
You have to tell me afterwards because obviously you haven't.
Why wait?
The one that's the most
there are surprises that we want to have. But anyway, the thing is, we actually got enough hidden surprises in this patch that I feel like it's kind of okay to disclose a lot of things because there's quite a lot more of them. Like, I feel like there's probably more hidden, random, weird stuff in this patch than we've probably ever done. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Matt, but it seems like it to me.
It should be. I'm a huge advocate for pushing for and I just declare it at the start. I'm like, this is a thing no one's allowed to know
The
about.
Tula expansion?
And then I just hope that no one says anything.
It's easy to make mistakes though. People don't know what stuff's going to be hidden, and so I might just randomly, blunder into things and like.
The whole chat is screaming swords. Y'all are fucking trolling.
Okay, but is it just going to?
They are coping on those like.
But then it's like, maybe even that in itself is exciting because people don't know if what's data mined is actually enabled or not.
Yeah,
so you start adding bait and you put in little things that are just like, to intentionally make people feel the sense of mystery. So even if it is a thing that will get data mined, it doesn't necessarily mean it's there. If it's like, there are things that are unintentional. Like, I don't know if the patch notes actually ended up with this, but all of the, for example, have we disclosed all of the hidden anoints? Like we expressed some. We're like, here's some that you get from the. They're not like
we didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't list them. We just
we went over some in the live stream and the presentation, and we here's a few examples. But then there's
why am I smelling Godin more?
A bunch undiscovered, and so it's like
I'm just sure I don't have
a secret. It's just like we want people to discover stuff.
Maybe it's my events.
Some people, and then there's the stuff like the actual secrets where we're just like, nah, good luck finding this, and we look forward to day 29 where someone figures this out or something. I want some sense of discovery over the league that's more than just like what is your build and what is the meta, like stuff that's actually in-world discoverable things. And yeah, sometimes it gets figured out in like an hour, and you're like, oh well, whatever. Still, that's something. But
it's funny that you mentioned this with the bait thing, because I'm still looking at the data mine of Demon Magus and just waiting for something to happen. Oh yeah, you're laughing. I'm sitting here with blue balls.
No, it was a real thing. It's not.
It was. So I did have a quick. Sorry.
It will be a real thing one day. It wasn't intended to not.
Okay. I'm just
By the way, Demon Mages, for those that don't know, is the minion that you can socket a skill into, and it will cast the skill. It is a minion, but you get to choose what skill it uses. Essentially, it's like a meta gem.
Have never shied away from trying out of the box crazy things, roguelike things like Sekima Sanctum, Auto Battlers, Todia, DM's favorite TD Blight, and we saw a meteor crashing on the Infinite Atlas, utilizing the Infinite Atlas for the immersion of a meteor crashing down. It looks really cool. This small little snippet looks fantastic. And then the question I have for this is the idea of changing /and/or terraforming the Atlas something that you'll want to explore further in future updates or even leagues moving forward?
I definitely think that we're going to do more of that for sure. I mean,
Yeah, there's,
Doryani does have, as one of the Atlas Masters, does have a.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He's got the ability to change one biome into another. Like as part of his Atlas Master abilities.
Okay.
It's not completely controllable. You can't.
Sounds like we knew this to me.
But,
Like they'll add more things on Atlas. Jonathan finds it very cool, and I agree.
So there's things like that we can do. But yeah, that actually matters quite a lot with the new Atlas tree, because the new Atlas tree has a bunch of things that are biome specific. Like this is a thing that happens in forest, and this is a thing that happens in deserts. And there's also the ability to say like this biome behaves as this other biome in addition, and stuff like that, like with multi-choice stuff. And so there's like things like that going on that like make the biomes matter more. And then the ability for Diani to then be able to do some terraforming means that there's some strats there ideally that you could do with him. But yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like the imagination can immediately run wild. It's like, less hypothetical. This has not been discussed before, but it's like, okay, what does it look like for Blight using for whatever Blight ends up being in whatever world at some point in time? But like, okay, why not have actual blighted growths that appear on the Atlas and start growing and start like overrunning things? And why not have I don't know, things invading from here, and you can do anything, right? I mean, the imagination can run wild.
Breach domains appearing on the Atlas now. That's not like something that happens in front of you, but I mean the fog bank thing and Delirium, the Delirious like area. That sort of feels a little bit like it as well, where like the Atlas gets transformed. This event happens and that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, yeah, we're absolutely going to do. Like, we want every league to have more mechanics that happen on the Atlas. Like, that is an explicit thing. Like, every league should at least have something.
Having that infection growing thing that he just mentioned.
My mind went completely off when I saw that. I was like, they're probably going to do something like Catan League or Risk Play, where we're like pushing out settlements. Now we're playing RTS on the Infinite Atlas. That's where my mind went. And I was like, I can't wait for that.
Like,
I think a discussion I need to have with Mark actually.
Oh,
about some 1.0 league ideas.
Oh,
so we'll see how we go with that.
Would you like to share with the class, Jonathan?
You guys are adding such scale of content here. Like you're adding tons of crafting, for instance. You're just all of the different changes to the Atlas Masters, like you're talking about the terraforming Atlas. How much?
But yeah, with the stuff that's infecting, that is such a cool idea. But I wonder if that means you're ever going to go with like events on the Atlas.
Emergent gameplay, which we're just going to put it out into the wild and like see what the players do with it, and then we'll do changes after. Like, what's the balance like?
Well, so we try to think of everything we can, but we also assume that there will be a million things we didn't think of. So it's kind of like it is really both of those things. But yeah, we do try as hard as we can to try and understand the interactions. But yes, there's just a lot of inherent risk the moment that you add all sorts of stuff like this, that you just do get something that you didn't expect. So yeah, you just assume that that's also going to happen.
That's fair. When it comes to like the progression, PoE1 has had years, a decade plus of content and lessons learned and the progression of new leagues and trying things out. PoE2 has only had, or quote unquote only, it's pretty fresh out the gate, but we have had 2 considered full-blown league releases. And with a 0.3 Abyss and 0.4 Alba, which we had recently, right? So I'm just curious, what kind of lessons have you guys learned from previous league releases, which has been helpful for the 0.5 one when it comes to PoE2?
It's a tricky question because, like, I mean, we effectively learn these lessons every time. We've been doing it for so many years. The thing I guess we've been fighting. I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking. Actually, is like in a way we've been fighting this content war against PoE1, where it's like, okay, it's like PoE1 has all the stuff. We need to get PoE2 to some kind of standard, and so that's been like why we've needed to in these recent leagues to like make something that feels very, very substantial. And like 050 hopefully wins the war there now. And we've reached the point where we've reached the point where we can say that
Wait until Copas grab that war statement and just run with it.
Balance and all that sort of stuff, right? But it's like I honestly feel sorry for other ARPGs in some way, where like they have to in order to even get to the point of being able to say you're competitive, you have to first win this like war versus PoE1 of like the amount of shit that's in the game. So like that's very hard. It's like it's weird.
Ellie lost that battle a long time ago.
But yeah, like
I said, TLI is literally the only one that's really competing. Aside TLI is overall me, so like yeah, it does compete. Aside TLI, there's just nothing.
Need to have in a league to make it work, and ultimately
outside of the PoEs,
just take that stuff to even better, and like get up to a polished level that is like higher than what we ever needed to do before, and that kind of thing. But like I mean, we know how to do it. We've done so many leagues at this point.
Honestly, the newest discovery, I would say, that is probably the hardest thing is integrating it into the start of the game.
Yep.
Because the start of PoE2, like one thing that we didn't want to do, and I'd say PoE1 has failed at this numerous times, is like all of a sudden you start the game and then you're just in some subzone that's in some other dimension, and you're like, what is happening? And it's like, okay, can you really say your game is like gothic horror if you're, going into some person's memory or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, you just where am I? Like, what's even going on? It's like,
what even am I? Am I memory? Am I physical?
Out of there. So honestly, when we're thinking like, it's a big thing that comes up now, where we were even thinking like, what the hell? Like, can we really just have a bunch of Vaal stuff in the forest at the start?
That one was interesting. That one was interesting because we weren't going to do like when we designed that league originally. Going into the past was the only thing. Like we didn't have the past versus present temple, and the present day temple was a response to the fact that it felt immediately strange to walk out and be in Act 1, and then you're randomly traveling into the past in this Vaal thing. And so like we effectively had to make another version of like a bunch of those rooms in order to make that work and sort of still feel reasonable in Act 1. Yeah. And so that's something we never would have done. We never would have done that in PoE1.
For sure, 100%. Because you had that full pristine temple with all the living Vaal and everything. But like right now you encounter that at like second half of Act 3. It's a whole moment. If you just come out and you're fighting some basic zombies, a couple of crabs, and then you're just fighting like the full force of the like maximum power Vaal armies with you're just and then you go back and you're just in a forest fighting a wolf, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? And
I don't remember what monsters you face in the temple before Act 3.
Make undead versions of all the monsters. We had to make and some of them needed, and as soon as the thing's undead,
right?
The same animation set, it has to look more death. It's just a ton of work, and then all of a sudden, all the environment art, you have to have a destroyed version, a rundown version of every single room. It's like, and I'm like, why do we do this again? So Act 1 and 2 can, but it honestly makes so much of a difference than just like, the world doesn't matter because I can just,
and this is
time.
This is going to be something that in 1.0 is going to be a real challenge, right? Because we're expecting obviously a lot of people who haven't played the game before. It's really important that whatever we choose for the league to be, it has to be in every area, and yet it also has to be that it doesn't feel out of place. Honestly, like looking at it now, I'm like the Runes of Alder actually does that pretty damn well, and it's almost a shame that we did that one here and not in 1.0 because that would have been a really good 1.0 league. But we have to effectively somehow pull that off again and make another league that feels like fine in Act 1 and but also fine in end game, that kind of thing. So
we have to do it 1,000 more times, right? So
I suppose so, but like it's especially important for 1.0 in my opinion, just because you've got so many new players. But yeah, it's always
Oh.
going to have to be something that we consider that we never really thought about in PoE1 when we were designing leagues. There, it was just whatever, like I guess the feeling always was that like people have played this a bunch of times. Like like it's okay to just have like a weird Eldritch Nightmare on the beach. It's fine. Like we'll just live with it. It's okay.
I mean, we have gotten better at it in PoE1 as well over time,
Right.
but it certainly had its moments where it was like, what the
Right.
hell is going on this beach right
Uh-huh.
now?
Mhm.
You know, in the swamp with the rowers, and all of a sudden I'm in some other place. It's just,
Give me a second.
It's funny you mentioned it from that way. 'Cause I actually never thought of it that way, but you're like, it does kind of make sense. Like if you're not really familiar with PoE at all, when you play the game for the first time, and you're just like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah. But speaking of league mechanics, talk a little bit about some of the ones that are reworked here. I got a few basic questions around that. So Breach. We'll talk about Breach for a moment here. The Genesis tree is coming. Big surprise. They brought it back from PoE1 goes to PoE2, and it looks even bigger in PoE2, notably only jewelry, right? But like, what kind of changes and lessons did you have to learn from the PoE1 to implement it in PoE2, and what did you know you wanted in it and what you didn't want?
Okay, I'm back.
a big decision we made, and this is like a big, honestly, philosophical thing that could have future ramifications that we end up having to go back on, because it wasn't too long ago where we had, tile loot versus ground loot versus all that kind of stuff, being a thing in PoE1, and I'm sure it will come up again another 100 times. But you have this thing where, should a league just give the same drops, aside from ignore the bosses and their unique drops, should a league's rewards just be the same as world drops? Should it be at its ceiling worse than world drops? Should it be, there's all these different questions here. And the thing is that what we have
I feel like it should be equal or slightly worse.
The decision we made is that we wanted the rewards from leagues to be able to be better than world drops. And then thus comes to the important part that comes from it.
It shouldn't feel mandatory, I guess.
It can't be better than everything. It has to be better than some sort of category for some sort of build. So it's not exclusively better. It's not like, oh, the thing that comes from here is 100% better than everything else. It's like for this build, for that build, these types of characters or whatever are definitely going to want items from this kind of league. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to get. It's not like it's just trivial. It's not like it completely demeans the world drops. But we have made the decision here for sure that we wanted to say, and the Genesis tree was the big thing that we discussed when we were doing this, is like, well, do we want to be able to get things that can be better than what you can find in the world? And now, obviously, you still have to do the league in order to get the crafting material in order to create them. So you can't just fully bypass the itemization as is. But this is a decision we made. And as a result, yes, you get some pretty powerful stuff on the Genesis tree, and it's going to be pretty hard to get, but it is a thing you can do. But that is something you'll start seeing a little bit more from every league, where some are, for example, the Runes of Elder, and let's say it goes core and all of that. I mean, probably for some builds, the socketables that come from it are going to be better than any you could probably find in world drops for certain gear, certain slots, right? There's these avenues for each, and hence why the Genesis tree is focused primarily on jewelry. Like it just straight up gives some of the best items, especially for casters and summoners in particular, that you'd be able to get compared to.
I feel like they keep baiting me with Breach, and like at some point, I'm just going to run Breach. I don't like it.
Some people are like, no, that's the target farming. That's what I want to be able to get. That's what I want. I see that, and I want to go for
But
it.
like, I'm so disincentivized from running Breach simply because I don't like rarity stacking.
Like, well, what's the point in doing anything but breaches? Just do the breach and move to the next area, do the breach, move to the next area. So there is a balance there for sure, and it can pretty easily over time tilt one way or the other. So we'll see what happens here, I guess. But the important thing PoE2 does that PoE1 hasn't been.
I'm not going to be able to finish this interview.
But it's still something that we have a similar philosophy on, is that it should be that at least it's not for like every slot. Like if the Genesis tree could get best armor, best helmet, best gloves, best boots, best weapons, best everything. Well, what the hell why do anything else? At least now it's like, okay, I can possibly for some builds get the best amulet, probably for all builds actually get the best amulet. Sort of.
Except uniques.
For some, get the best rings for summoners and casters, and for that kind of.
I am very curious about the ring mods we are getting aside offering effects.
When I have them good, and then I'll do this other league for this other slot, and do this other league for this other slot, and that's the 3 leagues you're farming. And then once you've got those gear, maybe you change to some other leagues. All the meanwhile trying to get Mage Bloods from World Drop and to do Headhunters and all of that, and your classics. So yeah, that is a decision we've actually
Are diff
made
cards coming to PoE too? I don't think they've answered that question.
At least not for years, about whether or not we want rewards from leagues to ultimately be better than World Drops or more exclusive, or things that are ultimately exclusive to it. So it's a decision. It's where we're at, and we're going to try it, and hopefully we'll see how it goes.
That brings up two interesting challenges for me. One is how do you educate the players on knowing if there's the best of each of these? How do you overcome the challenge of making sure that the education portion of the players, so they know that you can get the best of each one of these leagues from each? And the other portion is then, how do you handle the situation of things like Alkengo, like the most standard, I'm going to run a map? Like if every other league mechanic has the best of something, does that mean Alkengo has like the worst of everything? Like how do you handle both of these challenges?
From the educational standpoint, well, that's kind of in each's league's responsibility. You'll learn that over time, generally speaking. But that's where the things like, okay, the Genesis tree, you can read the nodes, you can see the helper text, you can see what kind of stuff you can get out of it. You might not know exactly what mods, what tiers, and what values, but honestly, I prefer that to be within the discovery axis anyway. What it does say is your rings can now be X, and you're like, okay, well, that, like, summoner ones
one way people might find that out now is because when they mouse over their item, there'll be a little build guide note there being like, you need to go to the Genesis tree and do this. So that can be one way that people will be finding that out.
True, for sure. And so, okay, so what the other thing is let's say there's enough leagues and every league covers every slot. So like, let's say there's 10 leagues and each league is best at one slot. Well, why do I need to do anything but you can't do all 10 leagues at once, which is good. But it is obviously still important that, for example,
if only just a league, you should be able to get more loot for that league than 3 different.
Even if you could print the base type, you can't just like infinitely now craft that item, right? So that's an important thing of needing to make sure that you're still acquiring all the core currency. You still have to do the content with the leagues in it to do it, obviously. But yeah, this is a risk. Like, for sure, I can see a world where this is just like, okay, well, any ring or amulet that ever drops in the wild, like, sure, it can be okay, it can be good, but it can't be the best. That is the consequence of this. It is a 100% the actual consequence. And I do believe they can generally be good enough, and as long as that we're niche enough with what the leagues are doing, that it won't be too problematic. But shit, it's easy to cross that line, and now rest in peace, all rings on the floor. Just may as well filter them off, and you'll never see them again. It is a fuck up that can occur.
I've always said the opportunity cost of crafting or ease of crafting is drop just loses value, and vice versa.
Certainly, it is something we will try to not have happen. But in leagues down the line, yep, probably will. And there's always a way to address it.
Okay, I have to go now. I tried to stay as long as I could, but I can't finish this interview. I have something to do IRL, so we'll finish it on Monday or Tuesday. I'm not 100% sure if I'm streaming on Monday, but I will be streaming on Tuesday. I should be streaming on Tuesday. My next week is going to be interesting, but anyways, I'll keep you guys updated on Discord, worst case scenario. But I should be live on Tuesday, worst case scenario, and Monday, maybe, probably not, but maybe. We'll see. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna see you guys then. Thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate it. But till Monday, Tuesday, have a good night.